All right, it's 5 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Do you want to start off signing since?
Yeah, I think our first appointment's at 5:30.
Yeah, so we got a little time to. All right, I've got an accounts payable manifest in the amount of $514,761.41.
So moved.
And seconded, if a second is needed.
Yes, all those in favor?
Aye.
There should be two accounts payable.
There are. As soon as I pass it over, I saw the other.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that, Cal. And Beth?
Do we need to read and second move and second the other one too, or they? Yeah. All right, so here's the second one before I sign it.
Thank you. All right, so the second payroll manifest, the second accounts payable manifest is in the amount of $8,519 each.
So moved.
And seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Beth, to you for a signature. Hello, Greg.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. Thank you. All right, third item is payroll manifest in the amount of $11,834.45.
So moved.
And second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Oh, that's the retro pay. Okay.
There should be two of those
Yep,
also.
yep, the second one for the 70, yep.
Yeah.
While you're signing, I have another payroll manifest in the amount of $70,748.56.
So moved.
And seconded, is that also retro pay? Is that something else?
No, this is the regular payroll.
That's the regular payroll.
Okay.
That was today's.
Extra high because Mike LeBrecq and David Nelson retired, so they both got their
Payouts.
vacation payouts.
Okay.
Yeah, all those in favor for this?
Aye.
All right, that one's set.
That's good to know. Vacation payouts. So Dave is officially on his way.
Officially gone. He now has to take a 28-day break
Right, yeah.
from employment, but will be back part-time.
Oh,
So that's state rules for
Yeah.
Group 2 pensioners.
okay. Is that by his choice that he's back part-time, or
Yes.
we
Correct.
offered it to him and he accepted?
That is correct. Yeah.
Same duties?
He will be a call firefighter.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, can the inter-fund transfer, does that need a motion, or is that just something we're signing?
That should be just something to sign. That's for the conservation, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
This is, just for the record, Cal, purpose of the transfer is Bacon Sullivan, $11,900, and Sloping Acres Farm, $1,875.
And I think there was a land use change.
Land use change tax.
Yeah.
Still feels like we have it checks. So the Bacon of Bacon and Sullivan is the Bacon who we were just
Yeah,
Talking
that we
about.
were just, right.
referring to.
All right, can the 2024 warrant for DRA?
Yep, that's an MS 636, and that just needs your signature.
Okay.
There's no motion needed on that.
And for my edification, what is an MS 636?
What's the budget?
Yeah.
It's the,
That's it.
Yeah,
the less friendly looking budget.
Right, right.
exactly.
A little different than what we see in our town report, but that's how
Well,
that's their,
The numbers do match up, and I can show you the mapping if you ever are curious.
well, this certainly makes it clear what we're spending.
Yeah,
That's good, yeah.
that's that
That's
down.
that one.
Thank you. That way we keep everything orderly. Do we need to read these for the,
what is that?
this is the MS 636, also for DRA. It looks like probably the,
You should, one of them is the warrant, one of them is 636.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
one's, right, right,
yeah,
right.
okay. So it's same as the other one?
Same as the other one,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah,
So the first one we signed was the warrant, because that was all the, okay, this is the,
right.
Yeah.
This is the one that I mean is less user-friendly to look at.
oh,
exactly.
yes, correct. Because I was like, the other one looked fine to me. And if we wanted to browse through this at a time when we weren't in the middle of a meeting, can we do that?
Yep, I can email you the big budget spreadsheet that has all the calculations, so you can see all the
Yes, please.
Excel fun. I can do that.
Thank you.
All right, and the next item, it looks like a junkyard, motor vehicle junkyard license for
Yes.
map 208, lot 13.
Yep, up on Misery Road,
Yep. I'm
so
familiar.
junkyard in town. The state requires the selectmen to sign that they are licensed,
A licensed junkyard?
yes.
Okay.
And the license says that basically that the owner abides by DES regulations. So once they sign it, then the DES is the enforcement of those rules, so.
And that would be what kind of junk and how it's kept and any toxic anything
Yep,
or?
anything
Anything.
that
Sure.
violates their rules, because they're the ones, the DS has the rules on junkyards. They're the authority having jurisdiction.
And we're
But the
just,
selectmen have to license it, have to sign the license for the
yeah,
town.
and this represents his payment, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant to get that to you.
Does this go with the owner or with the lot? Must go with
With
the
the
lot.
owner.
Well, the owner just died, right?
The owner, the property was transferred to a trust, and the trustee of one of the trustees is signature of the application.
Okay.
Who's the owner?
Francis Dow is the owner,
Oh.
and one of his sons is now a trustee.
Gotcha.
Is there any request, you have to be living there to run a junkyard, or can they just run it as a junkyard?
I don't know if there's any occupancy requirements for it, I don't believe there are. It's a business, so, but they do live on site.
Just out of curiosity, does DES monitor?
Pardon me?
Does DES monitor it ever, or does they just wait for
I don't know.
somebody to complain?
I don't know, probably not. Well, I do know they came one time a few years ago, and I don't know whether it was because of a complaint or if they just did a drive-by or a stop-in, I don't know. I do know one time they visited the property. But,
Ken, for the notice of intent to cut wood or timber, do we need to read the address or the,
just the map and lot number, and you can, I mean, it references a map and lot number,
Yep,
and you can
got
see
it.
it in the road,
okay.
so.
All right, so the first one is on Baptist Hill Road, map 229, lot 14. And do we need a motion or
Nope.
just, yeah,
Nope.
just we're signing?
Is that you? Oh,
Sorry about that. I'm looking around, it was my phone.
We've all been there.
so there's 5, oh, it doesn't really matter where we sign.
At least in the middle.
Yep. Thank you.
So, since this is my first notice of intent to cut wood or timber, do you file it for any over a certain amount of
Yes,
timber?
yes.
That amount being, do you know? off the top
I
of your head?
don't know.
Some amount of acreage or?
There's a amount of cubic feet or whatever, however they designate it, that has to be, you have to do the intent to cut.
I don't see it on the form.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can
Can I
ask
just see that for
Mandy.
half a second?
Of course.
Please.
Do you want me to check with Mandy and send that out?
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
13 acres, it doesn't. Oh, and they have to calculate the biomass chips too.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Cool, it's always a good thing to know.
Yeah. All right, next is an application for veterans tax exemption or credits.
And just do the map and lock them.
Yep, so it's for 108 Lot 2. And it looks like we're signing in two places
Yep.
in this one, right?
Yeah. And any of these applications for exemption, this is done through our assessor, and people will fill out the application, and she does the background to make sure all the necessary paperwork is in order.
And the conditions are met and all
And
that.
that they're qualified.
Okay.
Yeah.
You answered my question before I even asked it,
Two places.
but I probably could, I might have figured that out. Right. 2 places.
Yep.
yeah, I see.
And then you'll see it on the next page.
Do we have more than one of these, or?
We do, we have a second one.
Yeah, it's two.
All right, so the second one is for tax map 233, lot 26. Let's go back.
These go together?
Yes.
There's another.
Thank you.
All right. I've never yet encountered a yield tax levy warrant.
We're not there yet, though.
All right, oh, we've got
Before
another.
we talk about that.
Okay,
So this is a warrant for land use change tax?
Ah.
What do we need for the record for this, Ken?
You don't need a motion, that's just.
Okay, so just signatures?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
There's 10 Hackleboro. Oh, never mind.
Isn't that same name?
No, never mind. I'm like, wait a minute.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so, yield tax levy. Ken, is this also just signatures?
That's a signature, and that is when you log off a section of your land, you are taxed on some of the money that you get, and that's what the yield tax is.
So it's yield after
Yes.
harvesting timber.
Yes.
Looks like another one that requires 2 signatures.
There's that one. There's this.
Thank you. Yep. All right, I think that brings us to the end of this folder.
The end of the big red, first
Yep.
red folder.
I'll pass that over. Hey, Rachel.
Hello, just checking. We're here.
All right, yeah, exactly. All right, looks like we're at previous minutes approval. So the meeting from the March 15th town meeting.
Now, did we get, I read our minutes of the meeting, but had we gotten town meeting minutes? Okay, fine.
No,
I just
and
wanted-
those you don't actually need to approve, Sam just wanted you to look at them and
Okay.
make sure that everything's good,
Okay.
before he does his thing.
So we don't need a vote?
No,
So does he want us to look at it and say everything's good before the end of the meeting, or when does he want us to say everything's good?
if you could do it before the end of the meeting, I probably should have given it to you beforehand.
Okay. This is a very fast read.
Hmm.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, what is in the voting? I am assuming if at least all the article passed are correct.
Yep, I already checked, all the numbers and all the names and the spellings, and so we've had 2 sets of eyes on it.
Are we gonna get a copy of these minutes, or are they already,
You have it,
oh, they're here?
you should, I gave one to each.
Oh, these are the town meetings, right?
There's,
These are town-
there's one for town and one for our last meeting.
There should be 3 sets,
town meeting.
right?
The executive, I didn't finish until
Okay.
this meeting.
We've
Gotcha.
got town meeting and regular meeting and not executive.
Looks good to me.
This ends up being a lot shorter than
Hmm.
the meeting.
That it took, yeah.
Placing the rail, okay. last discussion was on Sand Lake Trust, okay, I suppose. Okay. As far as I can see from that quick reading, and since you've had 2 eyes on it and all the spelling is correct and everything that passed is marked as passed, I would say yes.
Agreed.
All right, thank you.
All right, put that one down. So Cal, that brings us then to the March 18th
Yes.
meeting minutes, right? I did have one question whether line number 163 and 164, is that appropriate to put in there since we were in executive session at that point?
So based on what I learned through the NHMA documentation, anything that's a decision
Yep.
made,
Becomes
becomes public.
public, okay.
And those were 2 decisions, and honestly, probably if you were to review those minutes during the 10-year review cycle, you'd say that they don't need to be
Yeah.
because it would only have affected the, like everything that you decided on in that
Yeah.
meeting has come to pass.
Yeah, understood, right, I get you, okay. Does anybody see anything else? Any questions or comments?
I'm gonna move the minutes first. Need a second on it.
I'll second.
Always have, I've always been an independent.
Sure, good
So-
evening.
Hello all,
Thank you.
happy Monday.
Alrighty, thank you.
Ready for the snow, I all hope, right? Just when we thought our road budget was gonna be
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. All right, so we have a motion and a second on the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye,
When the teacher is up.
yes. Yes, I just wanted to mark that one, that you have a question
Okay,
about.
I vote aye also.
No, he's a.
All right. And Cal, on the executive session, voting for the,
I'll have them ready for the next.
no.
I feel a little bit weird.
This brings us into the swearing-in part.
Did you wanna meet?
Of course.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Mike Dumas. I'm coming over from Manchester, PV.
Yep.
I don't know, what do you guys want to know about me?
Give a little bit about your background.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from North Attleboro, Mass. I came up here, I went to St. Anselm College. I graduated in 2021. Met my fiance there. So she's from Salem, New Hampshire, so we settled up here.
So here you are.
Yep, I currently live in Manchester near Hooksett. Really happy to move from Mass up to New Hampshire. It's definitely a lot different than what I grew up in, but I'm really excited to come work here, work for small towns. That's what I really think policing's all about.
Cool. Welcome. Glad to have you. Chief, he'll be doing some FTO time, I
He'll be
assume.
riding with me, and then he'll ride with Lieutenant a little bit.
I thought he might be. So, very good. Welcome.
Thank you, nice to meet everyone.
Back up,
Back
FTO
up.
time,
Field training officer.
thank you. I am not a police officer, so thank you for that.
The chief will excel at it, I'm sure.
Okay, good,
So,
good.
Yes.
Welcome.
It's good to have strong FTO, so. All right.
Few words and then
Yeah.
swear in.
I even made up a few words this afternoon. So welcome. And is Mike LeBrecq here remote? Oh, that's too bad. Okay. I had hoped that he would be able to join us because I know he would have wanted to have been here for this part. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Scott Doherty. I'm actually a retired police officer from New York. So this is something special to me. So I would like to thank members of the Canterbury Police Department in attendance, new and old, Sheriff Croft, and friends and family, and wife, I assume?
Yes, my name's
Good
Audley.
too. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
And kids, I'm assuming. Cool.
Would you like to introduce the whole
Hi.
board too for them?
You can introduce yourselves.
I'm Beth Blair, Board of Selectmen.
I'm Ken Brushwick, Board of Selectmen.
All right, so I wanted to really thank Mike LeBrecq. I'm gonna do it anyway, because succession planning is really an important thing for any executive to do. So I thank him for doing that. It really made our decision so much easier. So thank you, Mike LeBrecq, wherever you are. I hope we'll get that to him somehow, so. Chief Crotty was recruited by Chief LeBrecq and really mentored with an eye toward the chief's job. So he began his career in law enforcement 16 years ago in New Hampshire with some prior law enforcement experience as a sheriff's deputy in Florida and 4 years in the Air Force. Was that security?
Security force.
I thought it might have been, yeah. And then you came to us in Canterbury almost 6 years ago. So I want to just say publicly that you have the full confidence of the select board and the town administrator. We're really looking forward to your tenure as chief. And one thing for your wife. Do you remember our talk last week? I'll refresh your memory. So
Which-
one of the things that I talked to your husband about was the importance of celebrating things like this. And I would urge you guys to figure out whether it's going out to dinner, or going out for ice cream, however you do it.
He hates
celebrate
cake. I
this.
already got him cheesecake because he loves it, and I'm trying not to cry right now.
Well, this really is, this is a big deal.
I know he's worked hard for this, and I know it's important to him.
I was just gonna say that, so.
I
but
love McDonald's and. Sorry.
Wherever you wind up.
No, that's something
Somewhere.
to be sorry about.
Yeah, but one of the things in my career that I think sometimes I forgot to do was just take a moment and just celebrate together, especially as a family. When he goes off to work, it's you, so this is a really happy occasion. So, you've earned this promotion, so really take time to enjoy it. So, and with that, actually, one more assignment. Continue your efforts to recruit and retain new people. And the other thing is try to identify a successor. Succession planning, really, it's never too early to start. So not that I want you to go anywhere, but it is important, so.
Give him 5 minutes to.
Give him 10 even.
Okay.
So, all right, anybody have anything they want to add?
Do
Sounds
not,
good to me.
All right,
except thank you for your time and talent and expertise and training the next person who's coming along and taking care of us. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna come out there, Justin, if you would stand in the middle, and I'm gonna administer the oath of office.
Oaths are solemn, I'll stand for that. Oh, I'm gonna cry.
It's okay. All right, if you would raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Justin Crotty,
I, Justin Crotty,
as the police chief of the town of Canterbury, New Hampshire,
as the police chief of the town of Canterbury, New Hampshire,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Sorry. Swear that I will support
swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Hampshire,
and the Constitution of the State of New Hampshire,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly, and impartially
honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties of police chief,
discharge the duties of police chief,
and I pledge to carry out the duties
and I pledge to carry out the duties
of police chief to the best of my ability,
of police chief to the best of my abilities,
and will honor and respect the mission,
and will honor and respect the mission,
goals, purpose, and policies
goals, purpose, and policies
of the Canterbury Police Department,
of the Canterbury Police Department,
and that I recognize the badge of my office
and I recognize the badge of my office
as a symbol of public faith and trust. As a symbol of public faith and trust.
as a symbol of public faith and trust,
And I accept so long
and I accept so long
as I am true to the ethics
as I am true to the ethics
of the police service
of the police service,
and make these promises
and make these promises
so solemnly,
so solemnly,
freely,
freely,
and upon my honor.
and upon my own.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Can we get a photo, you guys?
I'm gonna take my glasses off for a photo. Why don't we get,
All aboard?
yeah,
Yeah.
with the select board. You guys want to come out? And then we've got to get a family photo.
Up to you.
All about the photo.
No worries.
Justin's probably really excited for doing such a sad.
No, stop, no, he's not, he's very proud of you, I know.
Yep,
Thank you.
well done.
Now you need to be here.
Yeah, come on, you guys.
Kids and all.
You want me to take a photo for you?
Yeah,
Just
that's
show me how.
So you just,
Yeah, perfect. Yep.
I'm gonna get out of the picture.
Sheriff,
I don't need my face in there.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, cheese.
Cheese.
Perfect. Great picture.
I'm Debbie, I'm his mother.
That's good.
You see it now? Where do you see the
Right?
Congratulations. That's really all we've got.
That's it.
Ellie, I don't want to hold you folks. I'm sure you've got other places to be.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my fault, because I said, "Hey, we can go to McDonald's. Come on, we're going. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. When did you start?
Today was my
Nice to meet you.
People coming from Manchester, you know?
Good
Good for you. Would you call me a son?
From Sam.
They make me cry. The one with the fire department.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
They'll take care of it.
That's the official one.
Congratulations. Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, we've got a small correction. I actually said financial. So I changed it when I was reading it, but thank you. But we'll correct it later too.
I thought I had got it all.
No worries. All right, so we're through that. We met the new patrol officer.
Oh, he doesn't get, patrol officers don't get sworn in. I thought they actually would have,
I believe he did.
What was that?
The new officer got sworn in, right?
but we don't
The
do that.
chief, the chief will do that.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought Sam did, honestly.
And I think the paperwork that I'm sorry, to go along with that, I have the police chief's contract
Yeah.
here. He signed it, so here it is for you guys to sign,
Very good.
and I'll give him a copy and you a
Okay,
copy.
yep.
That makes it extra official.
Yes, indeed.
When does Officer Dumas actually start? As of this moment, or has he already?
Earlier today.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
It was
started-
first,
yeah.
because yesterday was the first day of the payroll, so actually today is his first on duty day.
Yeah. And did he get uniforms and such?
They're gonna get him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious why he wasn't in uniform, so.
Don't we have a, is it a 50-mile radius for taking cars?
30.
30.
30, well,
So is
30
he gonna
minutes.
qualify?
I would assume so. He lives in Manchester at the Hooksett line,
Yeah.
so I don't know. It'd be close.
I'm pretty sure that the chief told me he had already mapped that out and he was within.
Within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He might have said, he might, yeah.
We gotta date this, or? You wanna do that?
Yeah, I can just date it, today's date.
And you said we're getting a copy of this as well?
Yeah, I'll make copies, one for, if you guys want, I'll send you hard copies or electronic, but I gotta print one for,
Electronic is fine.
okay, I'll print one for Justin. and-
Yeah. That sounds good. Greg, are you looking to address the board tonight?
You have capital improvement plan on the agenda.
It's the 6:30 appointment.
Yeah, the 6:30 appointment.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that Megan Portnoy wanted to be here. for the
Ah, okay.
discussion. She was here earlier.
Okay.
She said she was gonna come back closer to 6:30.
Okay. All right, so we can,
We can move on
Yeah.
to new business, or
Do you wanna do Hannon? The Maple Grove
Cannons are gonna
Cemetery?
be here at
Oh, okay.
6:15.
Gotcha.
There's paperwork for you guys to sign.
okay, all right. All right, so
So
why
I'm
don't
gonna give
we,
you a brief on that paperwork first, that you're gonna sign for the Cannons.
yeah,
So there's a purchase and sales agreement, and this is for the property that abuts the Maple Grove Cemetery.
Behind the stone wall.
Yeah, and this is part of the expansion,
Yep.
the money that was approved at town meeting this
Yep.
year. So there's a purchase and sales to do that, and there's also a lot line adjustment that's gonna go along with that. So there's an application to the planning board for a lot line adjustment to have that happen, which has to be signed by you and the Hannons. So I have that paperwork here, so when they come in, that'll be discussed.
Oh, okay. Nice to see you.
I'll give you a little background on that paperwork.
cool, okay, that sounds good. All right, wanna move on to new business then?
Sure.
All right, so I am going to distribute to everyone a couple of documents.
I printed those out. I have them.
Actually, you don't,
Oh,
because I've edited them.
okay, I have, before we even get to that, I have many questions about this and comments.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want those first or after you have to say whatever you wanted to say.
No,
about
the
it.
only thing I was gonna do was just kind of introduce this as a proposed code of conduct.
Oh, okay.
Give you till the next meeting to look it over and give me comments. I'm not sure how you can comment on something you just got, but if you've got,
My comment on the ones that were emailed to us, was, I was actually surprised to just find it in my inbox in that form with no preamble or introduction or context.
Yeah.
So I found it, I looked at it, and I was surprised because I'm always surprised when I presented with a formal document that looks like I'm supposed to sign it. So that was my first concern.
Yep.
My second one.
Did you send those out then? Okay.
It seems like a lot more discussion might need to occur even before we got to this point. And maybe that's what'll happen between now and the next meeting, is, again, it's a lot about context, like what towns use them, have they found them to be helpful? Can the Board of Selectmen require, I mean, one of them was for other boards and committees in town,
That is coming.
what's our purview to do that? What if a member chooses not to sign? And what if a member signs and then breaks the code? Who decides that that's happened? How is that enforced? It seems like that's a lot of issues to just find this and then talk about it at the next meeting. I think, for me, it would take a lot more discussion before I was willing or felt confident that this was a good thing for us to do in this form. I could see how, I'd also be curious to have town council weigh in on how this might actually work, especially from enforcement, which we seem to have issues with across the board on many things. But again, just how does it work? I don't know. I mean, I'm the new person here, I don't know what other towns use them or in what context. And I don't know if this, and again, not being new and not knowing how the board works, if this is something that needs a lot more discussion in like a work session before we bring it into a forum where we might actually vote on it. I don't know if that's a possibility, and if we are better served starting with something less. This to me is very formal, very big, very official, like this oath. I don't disagree with what's in here. I just, it seems a big place to start as opposed to like a mission statement for the board, similar to what you expressed at our first meeting. simple, short, this is what we plan to do, this is how we're gonna conduct ourselves. And then this is another discussion. But I don't know, again, because I'm not experienced, I don't know where that discussion can occur. Does it need to be here in this format? Does it need to be a work session? I need to understand a lot more about these kinds of documents before I can just buy into them.
Okay.
And
So,
that's, again,
yeah.
that's just me.
So I will tell you that codes of conduct are in use in dozens of towns across our state. So certainly look it over. You know, it certainly does bear discussion, but I think this is a good starting place.
Okay.
So,
But I guess my question is, where does that how does that discussion occur? And part of it is, you know, with the right to know laws. I'm going to sign up for the seminar from the New Hampshire Municipal Association on that.
Actually, we're going to talk about the right to know laws.
Oh, okay, good. So my concern, not my concern, but my question would be, just how do we talk about it in a productive way, being able to spend the time we need to discuss things like this, which is not a small thing in my mind. Do we do it here, or is a work session more appropriate? I don't know.
I mean, I think we have to notice a work session anyway, so that's really our choice,
Okay.
the format in which we discuss it. I certainly wouldn't mind a work session. It may be more appropriate.
Me either.
Yeah.
I do have one correction. Do I voice it now?
Sure.
3, you have been presented number 2.5, have been presented discussed before the board. I would say "and" is the proper word there.
Say it again, Ken? Where you looking?
3, down 2 dots,
Yep.
it says "have been presented discussed before the board."
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I got you, okay, yep. Yeah, so spend the next couple of weeks looking at this, and then we could certainly schedule, whether we want to schedule a work session now, but what I had planned on was just giving you guys a couple of weeks to look this over. So,
So this one that you've just handed us is just for select board. Where is the
the one that's titled Code of Conduct for Boards, Committees, and Commissions.
Is that the same as the one that you emailed us? Oh,
No.
this is different too. Okay.
No, I didn't email anything to anyone, so.
Oh, okay.
And another one for Cal. And I would suggest the same thing with this one, that, you know, take it home, look it over, and, you know, perhaps at that same work session, we can look at this together.
And again, never having encountered a work session before, so if we look this all over and we set a work session to discuss this, and we have questions before that time that might require research before we actually get to the work session, so it could be productive, how do we do that?
I think you can email me questions or comments. We aren't going to be making any decisions, so.
Okay. Like, you know, again, about issues of enforcement or whatever. If we wanted to have somebody weigh in on that, how would we might find that before we get to the meeting and just say, well, how will this be enforced? And then we all say, well, we don't know, and then have to go away and more time is spent.
Yep.
Is there a way to move the conversation along before we actually get to the work session?
Yeah. Yep.
Again, I don't know, since I've never done one.
Yeah, me neither, so
Okay.
we'll find out together.
Okay then.
If there are specific questions that you think should be answered by town council, or if there's specific research or things like that, then you certainly can email me and I can query town council or do research or whatever.
So like we have been just an email to you, copied to all of us, so we all know what's going on. Okay.
Yep.
So are we required to sign one of these as a Board of Selectmen member on a committee?
No, it would be as a Board of Selectmen member, and if you're representing the Board of Selectmen, then you would
Correct.
function under those rules as a Board of Selectmen.
'Cause
And
that
again,
was-
that may be a question for town council just to see. I think if they're different, then it may require that also, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Because-
a good question for town council.
And this would be one of mine too, is, again, if we're, how is it that we are presenting a code of conduct to other boards and committees and commissions? I would assume they would want to weigh in on that. Or do they have the ability to weigh in on that? Or who on that committee weighs in on that? And that's another question for either council or us in our work session, I think.
And there are RSAs that pertain to elected boards that, one of them is 676:1, which says that boards have to set up their own rules and how they operate. And those rules have to be recorded with the town clerk and available to the public. I think that and town council may say, you know what, you should only have one for everybody. I'm not sure.
Right. Well, that would be, questions like that is
Yeah.
what I would hope we could answer before we get to a work session. And then we don't have to,
Sure.
Yeah.
then we know what we're talking about.
And this is intended to be a place to kick us off, so.
Okay? Where did this particular, what town or towns did this particular language come from?
Do you remember?
Let's see. They were both out of Massachusetts. One was Hingham, and I can't remember what the other one was.
And do
If
we
you
know?
just go on Google and do code of conduct for municipal boards or board of selectmen, you'll get lots of hits on that.
Okay. Well, I'm curious if there was somebody more local, I don't know if it matters,
I
Massachusetts.
didn't see any that were directly from New Hampshire, but I didn't look very far either.
Well, there will be, I think, a lot to discuss in this. I mean, I feel I have a lot to discuss in this, so I would be happy if a work session, at least part of one, would be this.
Yeah. So do you want 2 weeks to look it over and then schedule a work session?
If we could, no, I don't think so.
Ken,
Not for
what are
me.
you thinking?
I'm happy to talk about it whenever. I feel like I've been doing this for a couple of years, I know what they're expecting with those things. So, Ken advised me right up front, don't try and run the committee, so I just sit there and listen usually.
I've got the paper calendar, which is my Bible.
So you're thinking next week?
No, 2 weeks is fine. I mean, we don't have to wait we could schedule even for, we could schedule it now and schedule it after the next meeting. I think
understand.
more than 2 weeks is fine. I just didn't want to wait and then try to schedule
Yeah.
because things
Yeah.
happen. So I'd be happy to,
How about the 16th, Tuesday?
hold on.
Is that one of the meetings? 16th?
For the work session?
So that'll be after our second meeting.
As,
I'm fine on Tuesdays.
let me just check here, see what else is going on that night.
Yeah.
What's the date?
April 16th.
I know I can't do 17th or 18th, so.
It would have to be at the town office because the Friends of Elkins Library have this building from
Okay.
6 to 8.
Yeah. That's fine with me.
Is 2 weeks enough for anybody to think about this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if you guys want to email me questions, again, legal type questions, I
Yeah.
can send to town council and get advice on and have that for you, so.
And what time would that be?
You want to do it at 5?
Yep.
And is there, all right, so once we have a work session scheduled and we have a topic to discuss, can we add other things into that work session?
Again, we have to post an agenda,
Okay.
just like a regular meeting, so we have to post that. So we can post an agenda, but you have the ability, as is noted at the bottom of this, that you can add agenda items as you see fit. We would have to post this. This would not qualify as an emergency meeting, so we would post it and probably a week ahead.
Okay.
But again, you can add additional agenda items to it if you want.
So if it's posted on the 9th, if we had anything else, we might think, well, even,
You could add something that night to the agenda.
Okay.
If you'd like. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
We were doing agenda changes at 5 o'clock.
I know, sorry, because that was probably me texting you, so, sorry. I'll try not to do that. All
All
right,
right.
thank you. I appreciate that because I've had, I always like to know much more about the background of something before I engage into a contract with it.
No worries. All right, so that brings us to New Hampshire RSA 91A, the right to know. Just a reminder to select board members that all our communications are potentially public. All emails between each other, I think with very few exceptions, personnel issues,
Correct.
and that would really be it. They can all be discoverable. Anyone could come in and request emails and they will get them. So keep that in mind as you send emails
Indeed.
and other communications.
The other communication that is protected is attorney-client with
Yep.
town council or an attorney that we've hired. The NHMA has free legal advice for municipalities, however, that is not protected. So
Oh, interesting.
if there's any legal advice from town council, any communications with town council, that is protected under attorney-client privilege.
Okay. And that is, all under the right to know,
91A.
nice, okay.
Yep.
RSA 91A, it's a New Hampshire RSA.
And I have 2 binders with public records and non-public session information. I sat through a couple of seminars from NHMA, so if anybody wants any copies of these, there's a couple of PowerPoints that I have electronically, I can send those out to if anybody's interested. It's mostly basic stuff, but some of it is, a lot of it is very relevant.
I do intend, I got an email from the NHMA about a workshop,
Yep.
right to know workshop and meetings on Wednesday, April 17th that I'm going to attend,
Good deal.
so.
All right, anything further on that? All right. That brings us to letter from DES regarding map 101 lot 32.
Yep, I got a letter in 99 Canterbury Shore that they've received a complaint of possible violations. Complaint alleges that you or your agent have removed vegetation beyond permissible limits, protected shoreline of new pond, graded or filled, protected shoreline and redirected water well. Permit or proper authorization from HDS. This letter is to notify you of this complaint, provide you with an opportunity to respond. This is a piece of property that we sold, the town sold, I think it was before the first of the year. And the people that own it went in and did some work to build a house, and apparently someone complained. And there's quite a bit of paperwork that goes along with anything within 250 feet of shore. And it sounds like they may not have filed that paperwork, so just as an FYI, it just happened. We got that letter.
Is that the first lot as you turn onto Canterbury Shore, or?
No, it is, let me just bring it up. Hang on a second. It's actually, if you turn onto Canterbury Shore, it's on the, be on the right, It's actually the second lot.
Second.
Yeah, yeah, yep. So more or less an FYI, but they're the ones that handle that. I don't know, we checked and there's no permits, town permits given for that lot as of yet, so,
And when you say they'll handle it, who is the they, to whom you refer?
pardon me?
When you say they'll handle it,
DES will
oh,
handle
deal,
it. Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, anything further on that? No, Myra? Okay.
Not if they're handling it.
Right. All right, that brings us to the Cybertron contract.
Yep, and this is the contract with our current IT provider. They've been our IT provider now for 5 or 6 years. They haven't raised the price in the last 3 years, which is good. They provide, this is a service contract for the town office. And we have a rate that they use for that. And then the contract is $10,000 per year. And that this contract spells out what they do. And then they also do hourly work for the municipal building, the fire, police, and highway. So, again, they haven't raised their price in several years, and they've been very responsive to any problems that we've had, so I didn't see any reason to change that. So I just, we don't need a motion or anything, but I typically sign it with your authority, so just want to give me authority to sign this, and I will.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
If it's good, we like them, the price hasn't gone up, they're useful, yes. All good things.
All right, discuss use of streaming equipment by boards and committees. So, I attended the planning board meeting recently and noted that we were not streaming our meetings. I think the equipment is here, and I wonder why we're not using it.
We started streaming meetings during the pandemic. It was allowed as a way to have all board members in attendance without being in physical attendance. It was allowed under the emergency order from the governor, so that's why we started it, and we used it. We have had some technical difficulties in the past, as
Including
tonight. This is our second system that we're on as far as the hardware is concerned. It was made available to all boards. We did a PowerPoint, there's a manual up there. There's no requirement from the law that says you have to use it. It's a function of each board or committee. It was greatly encouraged. Some did it, some didn't, and that's kind of where it stood. The selectmen have been doing it, and have been doing it faithfully since then, so. Other boards have used it a little, and then others haven't.
I'm curious, can you tell with this system how many people are actually watching the live stream?
Yes.
'Cause I can't.
I can address that if you would like.
Excuse me?
I can address the issue with the planning board if you'd like.
Sure.
Since you're the planning board rep and you are here, yes, please.
The planning board has 7 board members and 2 alternates now. Soon it will be 4 alternates. I've asked for a volunteer to handle the streaming. I don't have somebody like Ken there to manage it. 7 people, and soon to be 11, is an awful lot for me to handle. I don't have the bandwidth to deal with it. Lois doesn't have the, it's also for a secretary to track 11 people's comments and concerns at one time. She is always a little bit behind and always having trouble to keep up. So I have no objection to it. The board has no objection to it. We just don't have the bandwidth to deal with it, to do it.
Okay.
So if you want to, and now we're talking about a planning board professional, if we think that's a valuable use of their 2.5 hours twice a month, then we'll have that's fine with me.
Would it be any more than just setting it up like now and, well, somebody would have to set it up, but it pretty much just runs, correct? It would just be the person to
I had another thought. If it's so simple to run, program it to come on at a given time and turn off at another time.
I'm not sure that's doable.
So, yeah, and one of the things, as you can see, there's hardware that's involved, and this room gets used by several people, several organizations in town, and we keep the hardware in a separate room, because we don't wanna have the laptop,
Oh, yeah, just out
Disappear.
with people coming in and out.
yeah, so it's one of those things where we can't just leave the hardware out.
Right.
Some of it, so we have to set it up every meeting, so there is a setup and a takedown that goes with it.
But Greg, the planning board wouldn't mind having it done if somebody did it.
Well, but we don't,
If there
you
wasn't
talk about the
somebody.
right to know law, it's, everything we do is public information, almost, 99% of everything we do is totally public information. I don't see why I haven't asked the board recently if there's any problem, anybody has problems with it, but I can't. And even if they did, maybe they should be leaving the board.
Yeah. Just, I think this is just my opinion, that the select board should be encouraging transparency in government. And the equipment literally sits here.
I agree.
The problem that I see with it, sitting on that board, is that there's no context. You've got maps and paperwork everywhere, and you can't observe it from there. You can only observe it by coming in and talking and listening.
So during that time that several of the boards are using it, the secretaries would provide that, any of the maps, deeds, anything like that, prior to the meeting, and that can be loaded onto the town website and provided, and so someone would just be able to click on it and go through it as part of the agenda. There's attachments to the agenda. Again, some parts of this are technically challenging. I certainly
Does that happen
had to learn
now?
how to do it. I'm 66 years old and I learned, so.
No, I'm curious, does that happen now, or if somebody comes in and there's maps and things, so I came and sat in the last meeting?
Most of that stuff, it's supposed to be on the website with the
okay.
agenda, and usually it
Yeah.
is. But again, it's bandwidth for Lois is overwhelmed, and we're getting more and more. When I first was on the board with you, Ken, when you were chair, if we saw 2 applications every 6 months, it was unusual. Now we're seeing 2 applications a month, at least. So to keep up with this is a real challenge. So one thing I had thought about would be a screen for the board to be putting things up, and I think this is beyond Lois's current abilities at the moment, but it would be good for us to be able to put documents up on the screen in a large format, and to be able to put a scroller on it and say, this is the one we're talking about. And,
That's a whole production, yeah.
but that's a whole nother screen, and maybe even a bigger screen than that. I mean, to put planning board, to put plats and stuff on there, you still wouldn't be able to read it. But I would encourage that. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
And I will say, this system does allow for that. It can share, like I could go on here now and share what's on my computer onto that screen. Again, do we need another screen? Do we need something bigger? So there's technical questions that surround it also. Yeah.
So I would suggest the first thing is we get the planning board professional and get started on just plain streaming the meeting, and then try to move on to more access to documents and stuff.
And this isn't just about the planning board. I don't think anyone
No.
outside of here is using it, so.
But it was, yeah, if there's I could see the agenda and then all the documents that go along with it. so many people, you know, I have my laptop with me, there's good Wi-Fi here. You sit down, you pull up, you know, you're listening to the meeting, you pull up the relevant documents and you're looking at them easily right in front of you, or sharing it with the person next to you, that's
Right, well.
a good start.
And also, 2-3 years ago, there wasn't good Wi-Fi here.
No, now it's fine, yeah.
And then we have it's getting so that our board is all fairly computer savvy and able to do that. But I don't think we want to insist that a board member have computer skills in order to serve on the board.
No.
I don't think we can.
Yeah.
You know, it's just outside their job description, if you will.
But as one of the peanut gallery who comes in and brings her laptop with her, I will happily look at the documents if they're there.
So how would the other board members feel about the town administrator just sending out a reminder, since we can't require it, but we can certainly encourage it?
If it can be done without, if it can be done, yeah. And if it can be done, to stream it and we can
Right.
encourage it.
Well, since
Yeah.
we're streaming now, I suggest it can be done.
I can certainly, I know the conversation we had earlier about the hardware.
Yep.
And contacting that electrician that
Yep.
has some experience with that.
Yeah.
And ask questions of them and see if there's a system that is, I guess, easily set up and logged on and everything.
Like what I meant by that it can, I mean, I know it can be done, but I mean, with the bandwidth that the planning board has or any
Right.
other board for a person to actually
Yeah.
set it up, so long as the board can manage the
Yeah.
process, I
Right.
would
And
encourage it.
as Greg mentioned, as us oldsters get replaced by younger members, they're more computer savvy, so. So I think this is a surmountable challenge that we have.
Yeah,
So once again, how do the other board members feel about the town administrator sending a reminder out?
I would say yes.
Kent?
I would say if you'd like to, that's fine. I just do not find this an easy way to communicate with the public outside, and I think they should be here. And I know that's not possible for everybody, but that's my opinion, so
Fair enough.
pile on.
Nobody piling here?
I would agree that coming adds a whole different dimension to it, but I'm surprised at how many people have been watching Edgar's videos of select board meetings. There were over 100 views, which I think is astonishing
Yeah.
and really encouraging that people wanted to know enough to do it, so
Yep.
it's available if they want it, I guess.
Well, the difference is that that's available at their convenience, and this is only
Well, that's
available
true.
when it's
That's true.
streamed.
That's true. Well,
Very good point,
I
Greg.
think a reminder couldn't hurt.
All right, so you'll
Yep.
just,
Have that.
send out a reminder.
Thank you.
All right, we still doing okay for time? Ken?
We've
Still
got-
doing okay for time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So next on the agenda, letter from Mark Hopkins regarding gazebo repairs.
That should be.
Yep, I've got it here.
We didn't get that yet, correct?
No, he dropped that off today.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm up with my email.
Ken, do you want me to read this aloud?
Mhm.
All right, so this is a letter from Mark Hopkins, Foster Road, Canterbury, addressed to the select board. It says regarding gazebo railings, specifications and considerations. Number 1, new railings should follow the pattern of the railings installed at the new Sam Lake House and the country store. These are designed to shed water without a solid bottom rail, which would tend to retain snow and water and rot the bottoms of the balusters prematurely. Item 2, eastern white pine rails combined with fir balusters. All components should be painted with an oil primer and a minimum of two coats of high-quality acrylic paint, including all sides and ends before assembly. Top rail should be milled out of the 10-4 clear stock with beveled top. The thickness of the top rail makes for a more comfortable surface to lean against in a pleasing proportion. Item 3, all fasteners shall be stainless steel, sunk slightly below the surface and filled with acrylic caulk. The 3 sections of rail facing west toward the town hall must be removable. This allows for clear view of the stage and for the viewing area on the lawn during the Canterbury Fair or other events. And Mark ends with, I encourage the select board to award the work to Alex Young who has worked with me on the other railings mentioned above and is familiar with the process. I will donate several dozen fir balusters painted and ready to use. Signed, Mark Hopkins. And is there something, Ken, in here?
I think.
That's just, okay, that's an original from Mark.
Was there a budget on this project?
Yes.
That was
Which is, we
warrant
looked
article.
at, but I
It
don't,
was $6,000. We had one bid on it before the town meeting. And I know Mr. Young had solicited me before the town meeting, asking if he could bid on it. And I let him know that, like, we better to wait until after town meeting to give us a bid.
See if it was
Because we
approved.
could see it was approved or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
And
I'm
he
waiting, I'm waiting for a bid from him.
okay,
Yeah.
an official bid that, and now he knows what the budget is.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, next item.
Oh, Ken, what would you like to speak, yes? I've been the one coordinating this with Dale. Now, I don't care if Mark wants to offer suggestions, but those handrails are actually a part of the structural elements of that building. That means that those posts sit up there and those handrails hold them where they are. The only thing that's holding them is a bolt in the ground. So to keep the thing from racking, I don't know if a double, I understand what Mark is suggesting, but I don't know if that's gonna meet the requirement of strength.
Okay.
You mean to be removable?
Yeah, well, no, that I'll get to in a second. I mean, two slats down either side of the
Oh.
handrails, I don't know if it's gonna provide the structural rigidity. The other thing is, and Dale has asked me this several times, since this was Dale's building originally, he designed it, he and I and Scott built the thing, and I think he's got an interest in it, and that's probably all at this point, but he had asked me not to make the rails so they were removable, because he's concerned that, again, it's a structural element, and he doesn't want to see the building, our strength diminished. And so, I know people would like to maybe see the thing directly, but 3 of those things coming out each time, I don't think is a good idea. So, those are my thoughts on that.
Was it three sections Mark is recommending to come out, or
It's
2?
what they've been doing at the fair,
3.
3,
Oh,
I believe.
3 sections of rail facing west toward Town Hall must be.
I don't know how to even think about that, not knowing the structure.
Yeah.
I would assume, is there a way to test for that? There's a way to,
Yeah, try and pull it down, I don't know. I just assume, whatever. Whatever you guys want.
I guess I would, and maybe that would be part of the bid process, would be to get some kind of warranty or some kind of, whether they can say they've had looked at this and talked with Mark and said, okay, what are the ramifications if we do remove 3 railings all at the same time?
and how bad, for a one-day event, to do that kind of,
And again, I don't know how you would make that removable for, like you said, a one-day event, I'm not sure.
it seems,
How do you
it
make
seems
that?
I'd rather have it structurally sound than to satisfy some people who are coming, and how many people actually sit and watch. It just seems excessive for a one-day event, if it's going to at all compromise the structure or make it more complicated to build. But I would agree, it just,
Makes sense.
yeah, I mean, people are coming and listening to the music, not sitting to watch a stage show, so the music is not impacted by the railings, so.
No, we certainly don't want to risk.
Personally, I would say, as Kent would, that it should be more structurally sound than removable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kent, anything further on that?
No.
All right, next item, proposals for Historical Society mini split.
Yep, we have 2 proposals to replace, this was a warrant article for the,
Yep.
that was just proposed this year, and we have two proposals. Sam and I have reviewed them. This is kind of an FYI. We'd like to go with Lakes Region. They came out and worked on the humidifier that is in there, that is a separate unit, and they gave us a proposal for the mini split that is a little, almost $2,000 less expensive than the other proposal. So, and it does the same thing. So.
What was the amount of their proposal?
So theirs is 6,500, and the other proposal was 9,350.
Okay. And what was the amount approved at
We
town meeting?
budgeted 10,000 for this.
That would be nice. And what was the name of the company again, please?
Lakes Region Heating and Air Conditioning.
And this is for the, well, you've got the proposal, it's,
This is for the mini split or the ductless air
Right.
conditioning unit and the Historical Society's,
right, but that's purchasing and
Storage.
installation and
Yep.
everything.
yep.
Is there any maintenance in there, considering there was one in there that
So
didn't
there-
work for however many years?
Yeah, so this is not a maintenance agreement, it's a proposal to install it.
Right.
We could we could ask them about if they have maintenance agreements, and see what they come up with.
I think that would be helpful to know before you sign a contract, is can you maintain this thing?
Okay.
Even though I know they don't generally require much.
Correct, I was just gonna say that our experience at the Sam Lake House has been that they don't require very much maintenance at all, unless there's some breakdown.
Right.
So, Sam and I had talked about this, and maybe every 2 years to have a service call or something like that to look at it, so we can certainly question about it.
Yeah, just so it doesn't end up being another, what was it, 5 years or something where it just didn't
It
work?
was, yeah, several years, yeah.
Yeah. Let's,
Yeah, Sam?
Can I address the board?
oh, yes, please.
I brought these proposals to the Historical Society's meeting tonight, and the Energy Committee was present, and the Energy Committee would also like to have a third proposal. So their Energy Committee is going to find somebody that they would like to have a third proposal for the mini split. And the Historical Society asked me to go back and get a third proposal before we continue.
So we've got one for 10,
So we have two proposals right now, and apparently the Energy Committee has another contractor that they'd like to contact.
Yeah.
okay. What was the first one? I'm sorry, this was, Lakes Region was
So Lakes Region Heating and Air
6,500?
Conditioning,
Yeah,
and the other one is Rowell Services,
and that was for how much, please?
9,350.
Okay. And why did they want another one, just because of,
They weren't familiar with either of the
okay,
contractors, and they wanted to have an audit done of the space, and they want to do some more stuff before we go forward.
How long do they anticipate that it'll take, Sam?
I have no idea. He was very vague, and he's supposed to go to his meeting tonight and then call me this week with more information, so.
go, yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What was the tonnage on the unit that they're selling you?
Let's see, install a 12K high wall head in the archive room and a 12K outdoor heat pump to handle the unit listed above. And the other one was an 18K.
Okay.
What do you think, or does that make sense?
Yeah, pricing for the equipment has gone up
Yeah.
in the past year or so.
Yeah.
I would say that, your $6,000 figure is a fair figure.
Sam and I talked about this. So the technical portion of this is to conduct a heat loss on the room. There are no windows in it.
Yeah.
There's very little heat loss in that room. We talked about in a residential setting, if you have the old window air conditioner units, a 10,000 BTU unit was a fairly large window air conditioner. So a 12,000 unit up there, I think is in my mind, would be sufficient for a room of that size with virtually no heat loss or very little heat loss. I think an 18 might be a little overkill, but that's my opinion, that's just my.
Another comment to put in the back of your head, excuse me, you do have to service these things on an annual basis, annual.
Okay,
The service is basically you take out the filters and you clean them.
yeah,
But you do need to do that,
okay.
especially in an area that's, any kind of dust or anything
Right.
like that.
Is that in the unit itself?
Yes,
Yeah, in the head, like that unit up there, there's, you can take the top up, and there's filters in there. that
you take them out, you clean them, you run them under the faucet, and just make sure that they're clean.
Yep.
And you come back in.
We're talking about doing that with more buildings in town, so it's gonna be something that's almost a regular maintenance for the town.
Yeah, it takes, it takes 10 minutes,
Yeah,
15 minutes.
right. Yeah, I've done the ones at the town office.
Of course you have.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Art.
All right, so do we want to hold them for the 3rd?
I would think if the
Yes,
historical,
we got 'em,
yeah, and the energy committee say, yeah, you just think to see what they find.
Do we want to set a time limit? I'm just afraid that this is gonna,
ASAP.
yeah.
2 weeks reasonable?
I don't know.
Who's
Yeah, I
getting
think
the?
so.
Fred Portnoy
Oh,
is in charge. Was at the Energy Committee and he came to us and he said that he wanted to go find out more information to bring back to the Historical Society to advise us.
so if somebody wanted Fred to hurry along and do it in 2 weeks, who would contact Fred?
I can do that.
Yeah, that was my
Okay.
question too. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you.
Anything else on that before we leave?
Nope.
No.
Okay. All right,
Are the Hannons here?
yes,
Do the
right,
hands?
I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Why don't you come on up, folks?
Sure.
Please.
Sorry.
Got more chairs.
There you go. All right, so Ken, I've got the alternate agreement here. What do I need to read from
So,
this?
the first one, I think, is the purchase and sales
It
agreement.
is, yep.
So we have a purchase and sales agreement here. I think you've probably seen it.
We've seen it,
And that is for the board of selectmen to sign and the Hannons to sign.
Okay, so $3,000 is the agreed upon price? Yes.
So that's the first one, you'll sign where it says,
So are all the selectmen signed?
it only requires one signature. If all three of you want to sign, you can, it only requires.
I'd
one.
like to sign it.
All right.
I don't care if you sign too, but
No, no worries. I'm okay if just you sign it. I know you've worked on this, so. Anything else in that?
It's a witness,
I believe the planning board's application is in there for the lot line adjustment, which both parties have to sign also. I think it's like the third or fourth page that has to be signed, right in the middle of the page, Kent, I think. See it? I have one,
yeah,
is town and then Hannon's.
yeah.
And on the first page, it does say, witness does,
Correct, we'll do that as far as a witness, so I can sign that.
So are they signing both the applicant and Hannon, or are we signing?
So you guys, I think there's 3 places to sign under, is there 3 places? One for each selectman?
Yes.
Under town?
Yeah. And there's labeled different things, so they're applicant, owner, and agent.
Okay, so one for the town was as an applicant, and you can sign here, it doesn't matter. Don't sign under the agent, it's just, you can have 2 signatures. If you want to do 3, you can just cross off agent. And then you just cross that off, cross
Yes.
off those 2, yeah, cross that off and that. And then you can, and then Scott and Beth can sign that, and then Dan can sign here.
Okay.
thank you.
you. Do we need today's date, Ken?
Yes, please. And I'll take that. Both of those.
And you need to witness that first signature?
Oh,
You said
yeah,
you're
I'll
going
take-
to- okay.
yeah, I'll sign that when you give this over to them.
It's tangled up in those cables.
Yeah, it's a hazard. Sorry.
Full hazardous there.
See why Craig doesn't want to
Yeah.
get quote unquote tangled up in it.
And this is the purchase and sales, so we do a sign there.
Oh, officialness to it.
Right there. And then this is the application for the planning board for lot line adjustment. And you can sign there and you can sign there. Yeah, right underneath is fine. Great. And then, I don't know if you guys have any questions, or if
No,
you guys
we
have any
have
questions?
everybody and have no questions, so we're good.
Thank you for
Thank you,
considering
Ken.
doing this.
I'm not a problem. We appreciate it.
Thank you, folks.
All righty, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I gotta sign
Take
it.
care,
Oh,
everybody.
yeah.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Make sure you get your shovel back out.
Yeah.
Good.
Driveway
Take
mark
care.
is back.
Yep.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
All right, Ken, what do you think? Do you want to talk about dirt roads or?
Sure. Where are we for time? Well, we can go to the capital improvement committee now.
Okay,
Yeah, I can see it.
yep, all right. Greg and Megan, come forward.
I've got documents here. So I met with Central Regional Planning.
Is this the same that you just got?
Nope.
No,
I figured that.
I'm sorry, I only have one copy of that. This is another page of it. This is the last one. Come on, more. Central Regional Planning helps many towns to do this. This is an example of what they did for Epsom. One reason this is important for us, but probably the biggest reason is, I mean, there are a lot of reasons. And Canterbury's done really well, as we witnessed this last town meeting with its capital reserve funds. And so this is a study and a layout that helps with forming capital reserve funds so that we don't get spikes in expenses and spikes in taxation. But the thing that is more applicable to the planning board is it is a foundational document to support the innovative land use provisions we have in our ordinance, which is basically the 3% building cap. If we don't have a document, a thorough, complete document like this, I'm told by Central Regional Planning that our 3% building cap is not enforceable. So that is the big part of it. The cost of them helping us, the cost of the program is about $4,000. They have $1,000 in grant money that they can put toward it, so the total cost to the town would be $3,000. They are also, they've done this for a number of years and learned a lot in the process. One thing they've learned is that you can't expect your road agent or your fire chief to come in to be part of your committee and dedicate time to a half a dozen meetings or something. So they have developed, then they tried, so they found that didn't work. Then they tried sending out questionnaires to the department heads. And they found that they were not getting a very much of a response to that. So they've gone to a policy of making appointments with your department heads, such as your road agent, going to their office and sitting down for an hour and collecting the information you need from them. And that's so that they're not being overwhelmed and time taken away from their other duties. And they found that to be quite effective. There's a lot of flexibility in the amount of detail in the spreadsheet, especially about roads. That this one, I think, they list cost of upgrading 1/6 of the roads in town every year or something like that. There are other towns, probably bigger towns, that have a much more sophisticated arrangement in their road maintenance and programs where they have where the town already has a spreadsheet which dedicates a given amount for each road and much more of a plan about what they're going to do over the next 5 years on each road. But that isn't necessary. They can do something much more generic like this, where we know we got to fix at least 1/6 of the roads every year they've decided in Epsom. And so we know it's going to cost about this much, and to get that into the budget lines. It's not, I don't know, Ken, you've worked on these before.
Mhm.
Oh, one other thing, normally the committee is comprised of 2 members from the planning board, 1 member from the budget committee, and 1 member from the select board. I've got so much on my plate, I would really like to have somebody else on the planning board spearhead this, and then they would come back to the planning board with planning board and the select board to suggest, probably check in several times during the process. And then, of course, it gets approved by, not sure whether that has to go to town meeting or what's your experience with that?
It doesn't have to go to town meeting for approval. This is planning board, really a planning board function, and it's part of the system that's in place, similar to the master plan, where the master plan has to be approved, but as all the work is done by the planning board
And the committee of a different board. And if another board or a department head or, many towns have an administrator that handles all the different departments, bigger towns. And so that would be a person that would be included in the board, but we don't have that. And I don't think you would know better if some of our department heads would want to have more input and more interest, but they found that this plan works well.
So do you have somebody on the board that wants to spearhead this, or?
I'm hoping.
So Greg, question.
And I know Rich Marcoux is on here, and he's attending because he has also expressed some interest in it.
Okay, question for me. Page 1, the very first sentence, they say that the CIP is an extension of the master plan. Where are we with the master plan?
We are we're doing final review of the chapters on natural resources and transportation on the 9th in the town hall. It's a public meeting at 6 o'clock, I believe. Then there's one meeting in May. We're going to review 2 more chapters. So those 4 chapters are pretty much this is the final check-in. They may be fine, we may get more information and request to change a few things. I think there'll be a lot of interest in the natural resources section. I think the interest in the transportation section will be, well, why is Baptist Road so bumpy, and why are my dirt roads so muddy?
So I guess I'm confused. How can we move forward with this if the master plan isn't finished?
The master plan we hope to finish by the end of July.
Okay, same question.
June, July.
Right, but how can we move forward with this without a complete master plan?
We're not moving forward until we get approval, and then we end a time frame. So we would start, I can ask them that question, but I think we can probably start collecting information, but I'll ask them what their opinion is about that.
Okay.
Well, collecting information part of, at that point, are they on the clock? And what does the
Yeah, we have to make a contract.
Right. So what does our $3,000 get us as far as time and a completeness of a plan? And is that all in here?
That's what they would deliver, that would be the deliverable.
Okay. And you only made one copy of this, but is this all available online so that we could look at
They didn't give me
it?
an online copy, I don't know.
Oh, this is from them,
This is from
okay.
them, yes. I can ask them for a digital copy.
Yeah, that would be great, because it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
really make a decision
Yeah, we
without
don't have
knowing what we
money,
would
I'm not
get.
asking you to make a
No.
decision, no.
But I think it would be,
This is
I'd
it.
like to browse through it, and it looks like there's a lot of,
Yeah, well, this is Epsom's, so.
yeah.
I think it's just an
Are you
example.
done with this?
Yeah, it's an example, and that's more information about why you should have a master plan, but
Got a copy of this you can send around too, or?
that's available online, digital copy of,
Oh, from Town and City Magazine. Oh, that's the magazine that you were just talking about.
Yep. Megan, I'd like to hear from you, please.
I did not expect to be speaking, I didn't know Greg would be here. But we do need a CIP. That is part of the mandate from the state. State does require that it stems from a master plan, so that does need to come first. And Greg is correct in needing that to justify our land use ordinances. I think that people from select board budget and planning should have a preliminary meeting to discuss how big of a CIP a town like Canterbury needs. What is the population of Epsom? I'm not sure.
I honestly don't know.
It might say on there.
Yeah.
I would think.
Now, I'm not at all meaning to imply that Central New Hampshire Planning Commission is acting in bad faith. I will say, from the perspective of having been a consultant and having been in that role, when a contract begins its wind down, you look for ways to add on. That's capitalism, that's how consultants run. So I want to make sure that that they're addressing a need if we hire them that the town actually really needs. We do need a CIP, but is that possible to get done on our own if it's spearheaded by someone that's not Greg, because Greg is very busy? Or do we genuinely need outside help? And I don't feel like we have a true answer to that question yet until we kind of take a look at finalized chapters of the master plan and say, what does the town project that it will need in the future?
Yep.
And does that justify, several $1,000s more in a contract?
Yeah, and just for discussion purposes, Epsom 2020 census 4834, so almost twice as large as we are.
Because we may not need something that extensive.
Yeah.
We do need a CIP. It
Yeah.
may not require that level of a detail.
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
And I'm just concerned that we're also a little premature with this, since we don't have a master plan yet.
But the need remains, if it is indeed true that we need a CIP to support
We do need that.
the building
Yeah.
cap,
Understood.
which is important.
So Ken, you've done this before, what's your
Yeah,
take
so-
on generating it
Yes.
in-house?
Kind of an overall picture of the CIP. It encompasses the buildings as well as the equipment. Our town office is fairly new. This building, the library, the municipal building, those buildings are, when you look at the age of buildings, 20 years old isn't that old. However, we have been handling our needs for improvement as needed basis. We added a mini split to this building because we felt that the air conditioning and heating unit wasn't wasn't the size right or whatever it was for this building. So that's kind of what a CIP looks at, is the buildings, what do you foresee in the future?
Yeah.
Same thing with the equipment. We just had a town meeting where we approved a backhoe and a grader.
Yeah,
I think the town of Canterbury has been fortunate where we have looked ahead for quite a while, and I don't know, Kent, you've been around longer than I. When did we start the capital improvement budgets for the road grader and the backhoe and the plow trucks and things? You know, this has been going on for a long time.
It has, yeah.
I spoke to a person that works in a town on the other side of the Concord the other day, and they don't do that. They don't deposit money every year. I think we've been very fortunate where we've been doing that, and, you know, case in point, we bought a $440,000 road grader this year, and we came up with almost all of that money. So the tax impact, you know, and as Greg said, this is a CIP, a good CIP, prevents the peaks and valleys of the tax rate. And it does take cooperation from, and input from the police chief, the fire chief, the road agent, and then,
Budget committee?
yeah, and the selectmen and the budget committee. And also, our insurance company, Primex, they insure our buildings. And it may encompass getting their opinion on things. So it is, and I think a big chunk of it is information gathering and then putting together a plan.
Can I ask a clarifying question? We have a capital improvement budget already?
We have a capital improvement budgets for fire truck, front end loader, backhoe, dump
Individual
trucks.
items,
Yeah.
right?
Individual
So a
items.
fair amount of that work that was put into that is already done.
That was my question,
Correct,
so if
correct.
all the information that you have, that you update, that you look and see, they could use, correct?
Yeah, so I think,
Without
like I sent you a
reinventing
copy
them.
of one that Jan and I did, I think in 2019.
Yeah.
And it has it's basically a spreadsheet where it shows the potential age of the equipment, how much we owe on it, and what it might be worth at the end of its life. And so we have a basic plan that we did. It did not include the buildings, it was more all the highway equipment and the fire equipment and our cruisers.
But the buildings are part of it, I mean, that's
The
huge.
buildings are part of it, again, and that's one thing, I think when Jan and I did it, it was more because our equipment was getting older, and we needed something to back up. I think the selectmen asked us to put something together to back up why we were depositing money in our cap reserve accounts. And so that's what we created, was a cap reserve, capital.
So we're already pretty far down the road in getting
Well,
this.
we have some of that information, again, it's dated 2019, so it's dated, some of the equipment.
But I mean, the system of
Yeah.
identifying the needs and budgeting and blah, 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 but
Sure,
it
sure.
may need to include buildings where it
And-
doesn't really now, or it
Yeah,
doesn't
and-
sound like it does.
And I know Greg talked about, like, Epsom has a part of that is how many miles of road or what percentage of road you use. And our highway department has been pretty much 1 mile or 10 miles of pavement every year. And that's what they've been trying to do, because we have, I don't know, 100 miles of
Yeah.
paved roads, so they go on a 10-year rotational plan. And again, that comes from, there was a seminar that I attended, and I know John has attended some of these, where UNH has a program, it's called T2, and it is for the maintenance of roads and things, and they have industry leaders come in from paving and building roads and things, and they advise municipalities on how to maintain and what you do and things like that, and how to set up a program. So there is some history of that, and so I think that's where we ended up with what what mileage of roads we.
So there's a whole calculus of
Yeah.
the miles of road and age of vehicle and
And we just
use
set
of
up,
vehicle and
sure,
length
and we
of.
just set up a system with Central Hampshire Planning. They helped us. We had a road maintenance software plan. Unfortunately, it crashed. It was old technology, and we couldn't retrieve any of the data. So we had to start over. But Central Hampshire Regional Planning Commission came out, they drove the roads, they gave us a new program, so we have that, and you input data into it, so when you repave or you work on a road, you can put it in there, and then it will give you prompts on what the grade of the roads are. And some of it is based on observation by, I guess, experts, which our road agent, we rely on his opinion on a lot of this. But Central Hampshire Planning came out and they had two of their people that did the roads, and they did an initial assessment of the roads, and that's how we set up the program. So now everything we put in is more information into that.
So they've already got, so this is the same organization that we're talking about now, correct? So they've already got a basis of the town, or at least.
Sure.
We only have input on that for 1 year, 2 years?
I'm not sure, they provide us that information, and it's an ongoing, project, I guess. Again, we input data based on what our road agent does to the roads, he adds to that. Or we send information, cause it's part of it that they have the ability to enter the information. And so we send information to them and they input it also. So, and it's not like it's a 5-year or 10-year contract, it's just something they do as part of the contract they have with us for the town.
So your question about consultants looking for ways to extend increase the contract at the end. We have not had, as far as I know, we've never had that issue with Central Regional Planning, have we?
Yeah, I mean, we've been on, I don't know how many years, longer than I've been here, a contract with Central Hampshire Planning Commission to help us with things. They do traffic counts as part of that. And then, so they provide several things for that contract. We have done, in the past, the master plan updates with them, and it started out, this last one started out as a 3-phase program. It was extended because of the pandemic, but that's typically how it works, yeah.
And another thing they have is there's almost always a contribution in grant money, right?
They have, again, with the HOP grant, they have assisted us with that, and that is a planning function that they've helped out with. There are other regional planning commissions throughout the state, and that's what they do to try and help the municipalities. I've only had experience with Central New Hampshire, but they've always been a decent company to work with.
Right, organization.
Yep.
So, out of curiosity, so for the 3,000 does not sound like a lot to come up with a capital improvement plan, even with our input and the stuff, the information we already have going. But once they're done, does the town keep that up? Does the committee keep it up? How does it work going forward? Or do we have a
question? I hope.
It should be a living document.
Yeah.
It should not be stagnant.
Correct, yeah.
It should not, I think the recommendation is every 2 years.
Every 2 years, yeah.
So who does that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, going forward, who does that?
Well, once you have a format, it's easier to update that. So I'll ask a question about that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rose.
Yes. I sat on the CIP committee for many years over in Goffstown, but what happens is once you establish the matrix, which you're gonna need help with, and this is what the Central New Hampshire Plan is gonna do for you, then you form the CIP committee. CIP committee follows this thing along, okay? And they meet yearly to discuss what's going on or more. They're basically another form of budget committee. They deal specifically with CIP. Okay? And you have one now, it's kind of a half
Mhm.
approach, but you got the basics. You just need the thing formalized a little.
Okay. And personally, I have no problem looking at other consultants to supply, to work with. If anyone thinks there's a better option, we should get quotes or proposals from them.
It doesn't seem like that big of a contract to begin with. We've had good luck with Central Regional, I think.
No.
They know the towns.
They do know the town, yeah.
Right, and they've already been working on the road stuff and the master plan, so it's not gonna be anything new to them. So when I was there, they were talking to us about mapping. Do you mind if I go into that for a couple minutes? Mark Stevens, a surveyor in town, helped me find that although Merrimack County Registry of Deeds couldn't find it, Mark was able to find it. We do have a zoning map that is registered with the Registry of Deeds. It was signed by Cheryl Gordon and a surveyor and somebody else who's, I can't really read. But, so this,
What year, Greg?
1991.
Huh?
Okay, so the zoning part of it needs updating because of the Historic District Commission change. They asked me if we had any information of other zoning changes, meaning mapping changes in the zoning areas since 1991, because they are working with that. They are also, so then this also becomes the base layer for the tax maps, as they have explained to me. So do we know, how do we find out if they're, I don't remember back to 1991, I was working in very distant places. But does anybody have recollection of anything other than this Historic District Commission change?
No, but you might want to have a cup of coffee with Jim Schneider.
Yeah,
Thank you, that's a good suggestion.
always a good suggestion.
Oh, that's,
I was 6 years old.
you don't know? You weren't here.
I'm sure you could
So
say
then-
New Hampshire at 6 years old.
Yeah, really.
Maybe.
So in 1991 was the last time the historic district was,
No. 1991 is the date this was registered with the Merrimack County
correct,
Registry.
okay.
So now that leads me into something else. The roads are indicated on this. Currently, our road map in the town office is the zoning map. It's basically the same as this. I didn't, quick scan, I didn't see any differences. But reading the ordinances and the reading the RSAs, it sounds like this, because it's registered, is a official road map, but I'm not positive of that. I'm trying to find out more about that. But I would, in terms of an official road map, our ordinance references the official road map in numerous places. Our regulations reference the official road map in multiple places. State laws reference the official road map in dozens of places. Every site plan review and every subdivision that comes before the planning board or the zoning board or requires the board to evaluate and approve name and status of at least one road and often two or more roads. Every building permit requires the building inspector to evaluate and approve the name and status of at least one road and often two or more roads. Approval or denial of site plans, subdivisions, and building permits often is dependent on the status of a road. The New Hampshire Municipal Association, the New Hampshire Office of Planning and Development, and the Central Regional Planning Commission all recommend that towns have an official road map. Canterbury does not have an official road map that anybody will admit is an official road map. You go ask, is that the official road map? Well, the closest thing we've got. Is there one? Well, I don't know. If the map in Mandy's office doesn't, because of this, we have applicants map shopping to find a map that says like what they want the map to say. If the map in Mandy's office doesn't say what they want, they go to the tax map, or an old survey, or one of the many old maps available online, or the US Geological Service map that shows what they want. This makes the work of the planning board, the zoning board, and the building inspector much more difficult and time-consuming than necessary. It also creates confusion, controversy, and possible legal action. Even if there are few errors on our existing map which can be questioned, it is much better than having every road in question and claims that whatever the applicant can find on an old map authorizes them for a building permit. If the select board determines there is an error in the map, it is not difficult to change. Central Regional Planning can edit the map in a matter of days, and so there are two ways it can be authorized as official. One is if it's registered in the Registry of Deeds. The other is signed off by the town clerk. So
at the moment, are you proposing that this 1991 map, at the moment, is the best we have as far as official?
that's the best we have that I know of. But if Sam signed the map in the town office right now, it would be the official map. So this is a question for you guys. What do we think is the best way to address it?
So I have several times offered to work on a project of this magnitude, because I think it's gonna require talking to a lot of citizens in town so we get their input and understand what it is we've got there and what their recollections are of it. And then I think it should become I've thought of it as a living document where the selectmen sign it a certain year, and that's, as of that date, that's what we believe are the true roads in town. And then it should be updated every 10, 15 years, whatever we need to do, rather than just leave it.
Well, this leads us into another thing. We're supposed to have a road dossier. What's recommended is a road dossier, which is a record for each road about how it was originally formed and every change that's made in the changes to that road. But that's a big project. And what you're talking about is also a big project, and a bunch of people getting together to talk about it doesn't have any kind of legal authority, as I see it. I mean, and I think we need something as soon as we possibly can. And if we find that there's some, so if there are 3, 4 roads that are wrong on the existing map, we discover it, we change it and address it. That's much better than having somebody bring in some old map or some old survey and says, this is the official geological survey map that has how many old logging roads on it. I can build a house there because it's on an official map. We need something that is the official map.
So this 1991 map is registered, though?
It is registered, and this may actually be our legal map. It says it's labeled zoning map, it's not labeled road map. But the nuances of the RSA, it says that being registered at the Registry of Deeds makes it official, but I'm trying to find out through legal review with Central Regional Planning whether that indeed makes it the official road map or not.
And that zoning map actually has the roads on it, so.
Well, the zoning map we have in the town office, I believe, is the same as this.
Is this something that Central New Hampshire Planning Commission does, is a road map?
They do. They did that one that we have there. I don't, I don't know.
Printed with all the zoning information on it as well, it's just
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah,
But is that something that they,
yeah,
is in their
they're ready.
capacity?
They've already got it in, it's all in their things. I've asked them to make one change about a road, which is Barnett Hill Road, because it's shown as a private road on the map and is actually a class 6 road because it was never discontinued. And that's what it shows on the town Excel spreadsheet. That's what it is. And they're very responsive about making changes. And then that will become the base map for Avatar, which is the company that does our tax maps. And then we won't have discrepancy between our tax maps on the roads and the roads on the zoning map, or what we hope will be a official road map.
So Greg, who's responsible then? I guess I'm a little confused. Barnett Hill Road, you just said you did research.
I looked at it and yes.
Right. I guess what's to stop Art from doing his own research and then submitting a correction?
Because he's not a town official at this point, but.
Okay. So who does
No,
that
I
flow through?
had to document that with with information from the town spreadsheet.
Okay, but is that a planning board function?
The maps we're working on now are part of the master plan project. You get to sign off on it all.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to give that some thought.
Does it make any sense to, and this might be a gross simplification, but does it make sense to have that be the official map, whatever you said, Sam could sign it, that becomes the official map, and then work to, Kent, if you had any other information to go back and then update it, the smaller pieces, not the entire thing, 6-10 roads.
That's how I think is probably the most efficient and practical way to deal with it, but.
And we could, that could be our official road map for the moment tomorrow.
Right.
A
And
lot of this was done not that long ago, Wayman and Mark Stevens and
right, that's
Webb
where,
Stowe.
yeah, that's where all these little notes about the discontinuations came from.
So if that's the case, why wasn't it declared our official map then? Was it just the registering that?
Well, Wayne Mann's letter notation when he submitted it to the select board recommended it that it be approved in town meeting. I've looked in the minutes of the town meeting, the town report, and I don't see it in
never
there.
was. Oh.
But there are other ways, but maybe the decision was that it's not necessary to do that in town meeting because it's necessary, if you're gonna change it, there's some ways you cannot make a new road without it going through town meeting. The roads can go from class 5 to class 6 just by negligence. No maintenance, or a decision by the board not to maintain them.
And it can go the other way also. It can go from class 6 to class 5
Class 5.
if the town maintains it for more than 2 years.
But new roads, no.
So do we need to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Megan.
I'm just curious, there is an Excel spreadsheet that the town has with the classification of every road in town? So
Yes.
someone just needs to apply that to a map to make it current.
And Central Regional Planning is doing it, and it's not quite that simple, because there are things called nodes, which is, so road from X to Y is one section. X is a node, Y is a node. From Y to Z is another section, and they're not necessarily the same classification.
And that's not in the nuance, that nuance is not in the spreadsheet.
Yes, that nuance is in the spreadsheet, and that's what, I handed that over, and I asked him if he would authorize Central Regional Planning to use that.
Right, and we contacted Avatar today, and then I forwarded that information on to Mike Tardiff at Central Hampshire. So they have that information, they have the authorization to use that as a base map, so.
So, and that map is the same as the 1991 map?
It seems to be, from my review of it, it seems to be. But when Central regional planning inputs it into the map, then we will know if there are any discrepancies, and that's scheduled to happen in the next, I don't know,
Yeah, and before this
The
becomes.
next like couple of months or the weeks or?
less.
Well,
less
oh,
than
okay.
months.
So does it behoove us to wait until that's complete to see if there's any discrepancies and then sign that map and make it official?
Before, I guess I would counsel you guys before that this becomes the official roadmap, that, you know, you get together with the road agent and the planning board, and as Ken said, maybe some residents that have some differences of opinion, so to speak, and try and flesh that all out before we decide that, yes, this is the original
Yeah.
official roadmap. Certainly, I wouldn't, it's not a 6-month project, but I think you could get it done in a couple of months.
So if you're gonna include us and residents, we'd have to post it and
A
have a
couple
meeting
of public
and-
hearings and then again, input from the road agent and any other departments that might be, you know, probably our assessing and the tax clerk and people like that, just to get their input on it.
Do we have a date to renew our tax maps, or is that just sometime in the future?
So, our tax maps are updated, from information that is added by the assessor, and it runs about between 6 months and a year behind. So when a lot is subdivided or something like that, then that information is added by the assessing office to our tax map. But again, it may lag behind because of just the amount of work that takes to renew it.
Well, I know I bought my property in 1981, and it's on there, but a lot of stuff since then is not getting on there. And it just seems like we ought to have a schedule to bring it up, to renew it, to look at it, and print it out. We're gonna keep using that as a base.
Yeah, and again, the town clerk has the official documents that spell out any subdivisions or if a property is sold or anything like that, and as well as the assessing office. But the map is only updated on a annual basis because it just becomes too cumbersome to update it every time there's a transaction or something like
But when
that.
was the last time we actually updated the map, the entire thing, so we can look at it?
So if you go on the town's website
Yeah.
and you look at the tax map, that is, I'm pretty sure it's been updated at least in the last 2 years.
You know, there's a date on it, I don't
I
recall.
can't remember what the date is. I can look at it and see.
I have a question for probably Greg
Yep.
or Ken. So if this, just thinking about the timeline of a project, if we open this up for, we should, public input, and there's disagreements about the classification of a road, who's the authority, what's the decision process on how we get to what the classification is?
Yeah,
So we can
that's
make it to a
absolutely.
map.
That's a really
Like, what
good
is,
question.
like, I think it's great, we should have a conversation about it, then how do we get to a resolution?
I'm not sure, and all right,
Okay,
thank you.
in the past, okay, this has fallen on the shoulders of the planning board, okay? So they would look at it, and they would look at the town road standards that we have, that the DPW has, and look and make sure that the road meets the town standards. If it meets the town standards, it would then become a class 5 road. If it doesn't, it's a class 6 road. And, you know, in the past, there's been a lot of places that were class 6 roads. People got permits with selectmen dispensation, and with the promise of upgrading it to class 5, they never did it, so you gotta be careful. And that's why the planning board became involved, because they see all of the development in town, so that's why they became involved.
So, for example, Foster Road is probably not up to the road standard of the town.
At this point, probably not. And neither is Baptist Hill.
Right.
And parts of Hackleboro.
Right. So,
That's for discussion a little later.
Yeah,
yeah,
Next
that's right.
meeting.
That is on the agenda.
Stick around.
But it originally was, you know, it developed from the planning board having to review because they see all of the development in town and they.
So, your question, Kent, about the update, updating the zoning map, so I brought up that the historic district change is not on the current map. So that, they are working on that. And so, I guess what I'm saying is, we don't have to wait for the tax map, because this is an independent thing from the tax map. So, how about this for a proposal? When we get that updates from Central Regional Planning in the next couple weeks, we review it in planning board, see if there's anything that screams out at us as a problem. Then we send it to, you suggested Sam, the clerk, Sam and Mandy, and then you guys review it and,
That sounds reasonable. Yeah.
So do we, and at that point, it becomes quote unquote the official map, and then we accept any commentary after it's already our official map? From anybody who might want
I guess we'd
to
have, the
dispute
planning
it?
board would have to have a notice of hearing to discuss it.
Yeah.
And then if Sam is comfortable, he signs it, and then it becomes the official.
So if no
map.
one shows up at the meeting and nobody disputes anything, it becomes the map. But if somebody has a dispute later, that's just resolved later in the planning board and the map is either updated or not.
You know, the planning board is involved, but the planning board is, the select board, I believe, is
Yeah, right.
the be-all and end-all.
Okay.
So it seems we should almost be in for Sam to look at this map before we say, sign off on it.
Oh,
Send it
yeah.
to select board before going to Sam?
Yeah,
Fine.
I would think so.
I don't care where
I
it
would agree
goes,
with that,
as long as it gets,
Agreed.
yeah.
okay. So we're doing planning board, then public, then select board? Planning board, select board, then public?
I think the select board goes last. Sam goes after us, but they go last so that we've got the input from anybody who wants to say something.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'll give us a chance to
We'll
weigh
just
in.
write this down.
It makes sense.
Can you say that
You've
again?
got it all.
Go.
You said it, not me. So,
Planning board?
Central Regional Planning to Planning Board to Assessor and Sam?
To check that.
No, actually, no.
Selectmen first,
Correct.
and then Sam.
Right.
And Planning Board with public hearing.
Right.
So then it should go to the assessor, to Mandy, and then to Sam.
Yeah.
Does that sound
Yes.
right? Okay. and
Did you
then
read that from the top, please?
Central Regional Planning delivers to the Planning Board. The Planning Board reviews and schedules a public hearing. After the public hearing, the Planning Board sends it to Mandy. After it goes to Mandy, it goes to Sam. There should be some back and, so if there are changes at some point, it's gotta, wait, I missed the select board.
Here at the end.
So I think it may be a little more efficient if you go Central Hampshire Planning Board, the public, with the public's input,
Mhm.
and then to the Board of Selectmen, where they meet with the department heads,
Yep.
road, fire,
And
police, whatever,
yeah, okay.
and also the staff at the town office. And then they would approve it, and then it goes to the town clerk for
For sign off.
So that's one big giant meeting, all people's weighing in on the map at one time?
No.
No, it would be,
A series of,
Yeah.
you guys would meet with, probably individually,
yeah.
with the department heads and the staff.
And collect all, and,
Collect,
yeah, okay.
get their input, and then once you guys approve it, my guess is you wanna send it back to the planning board with any changes that you might have made
Yeah.
with the staff's input, and then then send it to the town
Yeah,
clerk.
and maybe, Kent, it makes sense to have us meet with like Mark,
Yeah.
you know, people who have done research.
We've lost Wayne, which is too bad. Wayne was a big part of that original map, but
all that information is on, Mandy has all of that, all of his notes, all of it. And then I went to the archives at the state because he recorded the town meetings where discontinuances happened, and what the warrant articles are, but he didn't record the votes. So I went there and retrieved information on some of the votes, and Mandy scanned that, but I didn't do all of the votes, but I'm not sure that that is necessary. Now, there was a question about, you had a question about what happens if somebody thinks something is incorrect.
Then has a dispute after the fact.
Right, well, they can come to the select board, planning board, and say, this is wrong. We can assess it and say, geez, you're right.
It's wrong.
We should change that. Or they can, and if we say, no, you're wrong, then their recourse is to the Superior Court, and there is a new
Ombudsman.
housing ombudsman that the Superior Court can say, this isn't very complicated, kick it over there, let them deal with it. Because the Superior Court takes 4 or 5 years to get through, and it's hugely expensive.
Yeah.
But at that point, if the good thing about the Superior Court process is they cannot collect attorney's fees.
Can I just interrupt just for a second? The Energy Committee, it looks like we're gonna run quite late.
I think I'm done.
I can,
Can I ask one fast question? It might be fast, I know, I'm interrupting your interruption.
I was just gonna ask them if they wanted to try and go up to the, I can
Go to the library.
Oh, you go to the building.
I was either that or you can go up to the Sam Lake House, to the
Yeah, Sam, we
conference room
can't get in
there.
the library.
Is the library open?
No.
Okay.
We'll go somewhere else.
Okay.
So, do you have a key?
I can bring you up to the Sam Lake House if you want to go up there.
Well, I think so, because we don't, unless we've heard from Rachel Baker that she can bring us the key. Let me just check.
Sam up there tonight?
No, I'll go up and open the door.
Hey, Ken, there's Fred Portner.
Were you looking for me?
We were talking
You'll
about.
hear from him later.
We'd love to have the town offices.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, on the record now,
Thank you.
No,
the
no.
number one question I was asked.
No better.
So, Greg, I guess my question was, the whole process you just outlined should take how long, do you think?
Okay.
It depends on how much everybody expedites.
No.
I feel, and I feel the planning will feel, and I think the zoning board and the building inspector wants this now. So, I think it should be expedited as much as possible.
Okay, so everyone's inspired to move it along. That's-
Because it just, everything that comes before us is it or isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you could just look at it and say, that's what it says, you don't like it, go talk to the court, or go
Yeah.
sort it out, you know?
Yeah.
Or, I don't mean that, I mean,
Right.
go present it to the planning board and the select board, why, and then if we decide you're right, you're right. If you decide we're
Well, it
right.
seems like an important linchpin that we, that we need to have.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right, thank you very much for your
You're
time.
welcome. Megan, was there anything else from you?
No.
Okay, just want to make sure. Good night.
Thank you, Greg, you're always so thorough with how many places this thing is being, thank you. It's a lot.
It takes a lot of time.
Yes.
Thank you for your input, Art. Appreciate it. And you too, Megan.
Art's here, I think, for our next item, actually.
Ah.
I guess I should, I want to sit.
All right. Road repairs?
Art, if you would, come forward, sir.
Okay. I'm here primarily to listen, but.
You can listen from a closer vantage point.
Well, while you're getting yourself settled, I'll say hello, I'm Beth Blair. We haven't met, though I've heard your name
Yes.
many times, so.
Somebody with your husband?
All right, yes.
Yeah. How you doing?
All right, so, I think as we all know, we have an ARPA grant. I believe we have to,
You got
at least have a plan to expend the funds by the end of this year and expend the funds by the end of 2025.
25 or 26? I thought it was 26.
Maybe, when Ken gets back, we'll ask. We did have a list from the road agent of, in his opinion, what the worst sections of dirt roads are.
Study this for 2 weeks.
So.
That would be this.
That would be correct.
I have a copy of this.
Yeah, this was, I just printed out the email
Yeah.
that we got.
So it's my understanding that the road agent did develop a list. And I think he talked about his approach to doing it.
Correct, and I guess honestly, I'll probably have to wait till Ken gets back. I'm a little confused as to, John put some dollar amounts there for materials. And I had thought the discussion was bidding the work out.
Well,
Kent, isn't that?
Yeah.
there's
So,
a,
go ahead.
this is my suggestion.
No.
We know that overall we have a problem with the maintenance of the dirt roads in town. And if that primarily stems from the roads weren't built properly to begin with. You've got X dollars that you're looking to spend.
Yep.
I don't think you need to spend all of that. However, you know, we need to take a couple of the roads that are in pretty bad shape and tune them up, square them away to what they should be, okay? Show John how to maintain them once they are established, and go from there. That way, when you're spending money on an annual basis on the dirt road, you're spending good money and not throwing it away.
Yep.
You know, there's a method to building the dirt roads, and in the 17 years, almost 18 years that I've lived in this town, I get to see it. I think what needs to happen is, my recommendation would be, and I mentioned this to Ken, is I know of several good grader operators that have their own machines, okay? But bring one of them in, we'd establish an hourly rate, bring one of them in, give him a scope of work to bring the road up to snuff, and let him do that with showing the road agent how it's done and answering any questions. Because a grader is a fine piece of machinery that can do many things. It's not just made to make something level. But you need to know how to use it in order to do that. So we would get what we need done, expend a little bit of money. In essence, you'd hire a road grader and operator on an hourly basis. And they'd say, okay, it's gonna take me 4 days to bring this thing into shape, or 2 days, or whatever it is. And you'd know what your financial exposure is ahead of time. And if you elected to do that, then you could say, okay, go. And you know, the people that I work with over the years, I mean, these men are experts at what they do. They own their own graders. They don't need to be using somebody else's.
Yep.
And they're fully insured, and in other words, you show them what you want done, you leave them alone, they do it.
Yep.
So that was my suggestion, anyway.
So, but are you suggesting that they would come, these outside contractors do the road with our road crew in attendance or helping, or they would all work together?
If the decision was to show John how it's done while it's being done, perhaps not, maybe they do it and then show him. But a grader operator doesn't need, he only needs one man and a truck to feed him if he needs material, and that's it. So it's not a huge operation.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't need to utilize the highway department. We bring a person in, they bring the guy, the truck driver that they need, their truck, and be done with it.
But is the goal to teach John how to then fix
It
the other
is.
roads, or to just maintain the roads that they have
Well,
fixed?
both.
Oh,
Primarily how to do it right the first time. But when you're trying to teach someone something like that, there's a lot of factors that come into play. So I wouldn't approach it quite that way immediately. I'd say, okay, we're gonna do this, and If you'd like to see how it's done, come along. If not, you know,
But if not, then he doesn't have the skills that you would want him to have, and then the people that we hired to begin with would have to do the rest of the roads, correct?
probably.
Okay, so we would need to know that, we would need to have John in with the plan up front. Otherwise, it's useless. He would need to see how to do it so he could do it then.
Yeah, who's the selectman's rep for DPW? You?
I guess.
Yep.
And does it, these contractors who own their own graders, how do they differ from the grader that we have that John would be using?
Well, the biggest difference is if I were to bring somebody in and pay him the scale that they get, I'd want him to have his own machine, be most comfortable with his machine. It's like driving your own car.
Right.
You know what it does, so you use it.
I was just curious, since I don't know
Yeah.
how graders work.
Yeah.
Does it translate from his grader to
It can.
our town grader?
You can, yeah, it's the operator and the machine.
Okay.
So just, if I could observe here, I have been watching the roads for the last 2 years closely, and I have watched after every single storm. And to me, the main problem right up front is that we don't have ditches deep enough nor an outlet to them. And so it immediately runs out of the ditches onto the roads, and then we get these deltas at the bottom of the hill. And I want to make sure that we address that first. And John has told me that you can't just think about digging these ditches out. You have to think about where you're going to put the spill that comes out of that.
Well, yes,
spoils.
that's all part of it. But
Right.
some of the ditches we have are a little bit too deep. And what happens is when the water runs, because basically it's just the material that was fluffed into them, that gets washed out, it undermines the road, it washes out the road because they're not done properly. So, you know, one of the things, and I'll give you a simple operation on how to set up a road. When you build a dirt road, the thing you do is you put what we call a crown in the middle of it. Okay, it's a high point. And then you shed the water off to each side. Sometimes when you come into a corner on a hillside, you have to tip that whole thing to one side or the other. So you do that, and then where the water runs on a quasi-level piece or very slight incline, your ditch line is going to be shallow. Okay. On the steep slope, the ditch line is going to have to be deeper. And as soon as you establish the ditch line, you fill it with stone. Okay. And I'm going to use the words 3" minus, okay? It's a stone that's, the average piece is 3 or 4 inches. That gets put into the trench. And the reason you use a piece like that is because it's got enough weight to it that it's not gonna be washed out
Gotcha.
in the first rainstorm.
No.
And when you fill these things, you don't pile them up above the road. You bring them in even with the road. So in the wintertime, and other areas, when you're cleaning up the roadway, you can plow, you don't rip the stone out of the ditch line. So, and then while you're doing this, before you approach that ditch line, you look at the road, you walk and say, okay, where's the water wanna go? Okay, those are the areas that you focus on, outlets, culverts, things like that. How do I wanna pitch the road, where do I wanna bring the water to? So all of that is a thought process that you do while you're walking the road and looking at things. So all of that has to come into play. You just don't jump in the grader and level things off.
Right. So when I think about this project, are we still losing a member of our highway department on the future, or you don't know?
I don't think we've got anything official yet.
Well, I'd just like to, I'm wondering if we should be thinking him in his future and teaching him as much as the road agent, because I think he's the one that's in that grader doing these
Absolutely.
roads, and I'd like to see him trained up.
Yeah. Yeah, I certainly think that makes sense.
And I also think he's got a truck that we might be able to rent from him to haul the spoils. I just don't know where to put them. My first foolish comment was to fill in Dudley's Pond, since it's almost full anyways. Just fill it all over, because that would take a huge amount of it, but I don't know where else to do it. Dump, you could dump it down the back hill, I don't
Well,
know.
let's see how many, I don't think you're gonna have a lot of that, but
I think once you start looking at like the borough, I think the borough is probably our worst road by far. And it has asphalt that is, the last time we had storms up there, it was washing the round rock that's in that ditch onto the road. It's this size
Yeah.
stuff.
That's why, because it was that size.
Right, and it seems like it ought to be a cracked rock and not a round rock.
But yeah, you've got a lot, but it's going to involve an experienced grader operator to get the things to where they need to be. And then, once they're there, they can be maintained.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think this is maybe a part of the puzzle here.
Agreed.
And I think we as a select board need to say, well, we're not gonna get all this done for 250.
Well, you may.
Well, we may, but if we don't, and let's assume we might not, then we set so much aside every year, because we're doing it with our asphalt roads now.
Yep, you should treat your dirt roads just like you paved roads.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
if you do have a young fella that's inclined to run machinery and has got a feel for the grader, that's the person you wanna develop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just spent a chunk of money on a new grader, so
Yep.
you better make sure you put somebody that's got half a brain in it.
Well, so here's my question is then how do we think about the expense if this is what we have from John and it's basically all the quarry pack, which came out to whatever it was, $238,000. So there was, if we're just talking about the ARPA funds, we've got $11,000 left over, which I guess includes the associated costs. But then how do we look at the cost of what you're suggesting, which is not just buying quarry pack and throwing it on the roads?
Well, yeah, I don't anticipate having to buy a lot of material. I don't.
But not anticipating a lot doesn't give us a number.
No, I
How do we?
have to meet with a grader operator, walk the roads and say, okay, this is what we're looking at.
And I hate to be, if we can just stop for half a second, because again, I am new here. I'm not exactly sure how you are here, what are you representing? Are you just a source of great,
I'm a taxpayer.
well, yes, I know that, but I mean, were you invited because of your particular expertise, or are you representing a company, or?
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't see you on here, so I just wasn't sure. You obviously have the expertise, I
Yes.
just wasn't quite sure.
He's an engineer.
And 52
Yeah.
years in the building
Okay.
industry. And I'm also a
Good.
civil engineer, so,
Expert witness,
yeah,
then.
exactly.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I knew.
Yeah, but I think we can, I look at like Baptist Hill Road, because I travel on a daily basis, but I don't see us needing a lot of material there. I think we just need to shape it. We may need some. And if we decide that we do need material, we'd have to negotiate something with what's his name over there now, then, who bought?
Oh,
Benedetto.
Benevent. And I could do that. I mean, I know any, or Pike, if Pike, Pike's got good material too.
Well, Bosco's got some real nice pack over there.
Yeah.
It's now littered on our power lines, thousands of yards of this stuff. We should go pick that up and,
But if we were to determine that we needed some of that stuff, we would. And then we'd end up renting a roller a couple of times at least to
so when I grade a road, should I roll it right after I get done grading it so that the
You should.
rocks aren't
You should.
sticking up?
You should, if it's where you want it to be, static roll, I'm using the term static, you don't pound anything, you just static roll it, to pack it into place and leave it.
So Art, are you doing this side of the crown, then that side of the crown with the roller?
Both, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And is that best on the back of the road grader, or is it a separate piece of?
Well, they just recently come out with these back in the road grader type things, I mean, but, it's always been a separate piece of equipment, you'd rent it and be done when you're done with it, it goes back to the rental shop.
Yeah.
Whenever you can rent something like that, you're better off doing it.
Yeah.
So how do we proceed and come up with a plan? With your excellent information.
I guess I'd leave you alone and let you talk about it amongst yourselves. If you decide that you wanted to go, I would then, you let me know, and I would go out and reach out to one of the men that I know bring him in my truck, we'd drive a few roads, see what he thinks, and if it matches up with my thought process, then
Make a bid?
we can give you a bid on it.
And how does any of this jive with John and what he feels is his responsibility for maintaining or doing roads? Does he expect, will this be an affront to his job in the town, so?
It may be, but I would hope that he realizes that he needs some help.
And how do we deal with that?
I think like Art said, he leaves and we discuss it.
Okay?
All right, I'll leave.
No,
Okay.
not you.
Your name's not Art.
Thanks a lot, guys.
But it's not a huge mysterious thing, it's just a matter of doing it once the right way.
Yeah.
And as a taxpayer, I'm very conscious about spending the dollar, so
Yes.
I would make sure that we wouldn't spend much.
Couldn't expect less from you, Art.
You guys got a lot of things going.
Yes, we do.
Thanks for weighing in with your expertise. Always appreciate it. I'm learning a lot more about roads than I ever thought I would in a very short amount of time.
Make sure you start with that 1991 map. That's what you gotta start with. And I strongly suggest somebody talks to Jim, because he made a point of knowing all of the zoning stuff.
Yeah, I think he was actually on that, maybe. I don't,
He may be, he may
Yeah, I
have
think he
that.
might.
Yeah. Well, as we both know, he was on planning for a long time.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I was on it for 16 years.
yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you, Art.
coming in, Art.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, what are we on to?
Committee appointments.
Committee appointments. All right, Cal, I'm gonna read them aloud and then I'll give you the copy. And actually, I've got a couple of those. Good night, Art.
Good night.
All right, Ken, you wanted to remain on planning board, so I've kept you there. Conservation Commission, Beth.
Yes, thank you.
Solid Waste Committee, Kent. Energy Committee, Beth. Community Power Committee, Kent. Board of Selectmen Liaison with Departments, Fire and Police, I'm gonna take. Kent, I gave you Highway again.
I don't get to liaise?
It's highly overrated.
Okay. I don't feel I have
Questions,
the expertise anyway, so thank you.
questions from me. Ag Committee, is there a select board rep to the Ag Committee?
No,
No.
There is not, and they had, I had sent an email to them, and Mark Stevens, who was the chair at the time, I
Yeah.
think he still is.
I think he still is too.
Said that he didn't feel that they needed one.
Okay,
Certainly the meetings are open and if somebody wants to attend, but at the time, he didn't feel that he asked the committee and they didn't feel that they needed a designated
okay.
select board person.
Just as an FYI, I think I
there
would,
should be one personally.
I would like to do that only because it seems like it would fit with conservation and quite frankly, the farmer's market, who has, would be interested in working with both groups.
I think he made that offer because he knows the selectmen are busy.
Yeah,
He wasn't trying to say, no, we don't want one.
Right,
It was
right,
just- He didn't think that they needed one at the time, but certainly that if somebody wanted to come,
Okay, so why don't we make that Beth?
okay?
I'd be happy to take that.
Thank you. How about the HDC?
Yeah, I've been asked to stay on there. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, I'm okay with it. I assume you want to stay on.
I asked to get off, but they asked me to stay on.
Oh, okay.
And is HDC going to be, or with Shaker Village?
Yeah.
Also-
We talked about that, is that like one and the same?
Yeah.
So I had an email from Mr. Katz on that, and thought that it might be easier if the Board of Selectmen invited a representative from Shaker Village, either from the Board of Trustees and the building maintenance director, or both, to come in quarterly to a regular selectmen's meeting, unless there was a big project coming up or something like that. Didn't know if that was an alternative to trying to have a representative on all of their board meetings.
Yeah.
That
Right,
seems to
so,
make sense.
Kevin had set something up to go out and talk to them,
Okay,
and I don't know what the dates are gonna be yet, but he did ask me to, because I think what he's looking for is some relief from having to do full-blown hearings and just use the selectmen as his, that and the board as their way out of those, so.
and they have that waiver process now, so
Yeah.
certainly that's, that's in their rules.
Yep.
Again, it was Mr. Katz, we sent a couple of
Yeah.
emails back and forth,
Yeah.
and he said, well, maybe it would be easier if you did a quarterly, they came in and
Yeah.
met with you guys.
I think that's a good idea, right?
Yeah.
I think the more we show the flag, the better off we'll be.
Yeah, and you willing to do to go out and do the meeting part with
Yeah.
Kevin and?
I
Yeah.
hadn't replied to him yet, but I will.
Please do, yeah. I'll put you in for that. And Sherwood Forest is the last one.
Yeah, I would like to stay on that, but I don't mind if somebody shadows me, because that is a touchy subject. You gotta be careful what you say, and there's only 2 meetings to attend.
2, like every 6 months?
Yeah, there's one,
Okay.
I don't remember when the first one is, in springtime, and then the second one is in the fall.
Okay.
But what you get is questions from them.
Yeah, of course,
Not just there, but Joanna will call me up
Yeah.
and talk to me, so.
yeah. You want to be a shadow?
If I keep my mouth shut and you'll let me shadow, I'll shadow. I would
So-
like to be a shadow.
Really?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna put it as Kent/Ben.
Shadow,
I won't put Shadow.
okay,
Peanut gallery.
peanut gallery.
Right, okay. And then I'll pass that over to Cal.
And is that, I don't know why I have a feeling that there should be more commissions on there, and somebody asked me the other day if the zoning board has a select board rep, and should they? Is there a reason why they don't? I didn't know if it was a
It's a
function.
difficult one to put a selectman's rep on, because we do talk at some of them and we do vote at some of them, but that one you're not gonna.
Right,
And the ZBA is a board that acts on existing zoning. So they look at the zoning ordinances and make a determination whether that is, the use, whatever, the application is appropriate for the town, based on the zoning ordinances there. And if it's not, if a variance there's someone seeking a variance because it does not meet the zoning requirements, what is the impact of the town if they grant the variance?
right,
It's a pretty focused board.
right, and the select board
It's
isn't
not-
weighing in on
they're
that,
not-
that's their job.
Yeah, they're not planning for the future, they're not
Right.
looking at outside type of things, so I think, as Ken said, there's not a lot of
Right.
discussion about outlying issues, it's more really focused.
Yeah.
In my time on that board, I was on there for 9 years, that was the hardest board to serve on, I think, because you're
I don't doubt it.
making decisions about people's lives in such a way that you can appeal it, but it's a hard thing to say yes or no to people, and you hear it in the comments around the board, which they shouldn't do, but they do. But are we gonna talk about the board and the appointments there, or when are we gonna?
That's on our list as appointment slips.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, questions or comments, committee appointments?
No, there was only one other one, what is it called now, Center Beautification?
Oh, so we had talked about this last year because for the last 15 years, I don't know, a long time, Gordon Jackson, Dale Caswell, and Sandy Morris, I think those were the three,
Yeah.
have done a huge amount of work. They've cleaned the cemetery up so you can actually see what's
Yeah.
down back there. And I have asked John each year to send our mower down there with the whip and cut down anything that's trying to grow, because it'll come right back up if we don't stay on top of it. And also they had cleaned up around the pond, which is looking pretty ratty again. And there was some discussion from the library that they wanted some trees around the farmer's market area.
They put two.
They put 2, so that's a long ways to go. And Jim and Donna had agreed at my suggestion that they would take care of it, and that's already stopping. So Donnie and I talked about it. We're thinking about maybe talking to Mindy and seeing if it's something that the garden club would be interested in. Because I don't think it's just gonna be planting trees or those simple things I talked to you about. I think the main problem facing the center is the invasives. If you look out in back of the one-room schoolhouse, it's just full of viney weed, bittersweet.
Yeah.
And I had the mower go in there last year with a whip, and we whipped it twice, and it made it worse. It's just everywhere it's coming up. And I don't know what the solutions for those are yet. You know, I hear the Conservation Commission talking about using some Roundup type products on it, and that, to me, that's probably the right way to do it, but I don't want to be the guy that says yes.
Yeah.
And I don't, I guess my bigger question was, I don't really realize what the committee is or who they are or who
It was
they're.
Donna and Jim.
Yeah, but like who they, like even Gordon and people were, you
They're
know.
not associated with it at all. They're retiring, as it were.
Correct, but my question is, how did they function? Who did they ask? Did they just plant trees because they wanted to? Did they
Yeah.
come in, did they ask? No, they just planted
Yeah,
them, so,
every once in a
is
while,
that
Gordon-
okay?
Every
Did
once in a
we
while,
like it
Gordon would
like
stop
that?
by and ask if there was something that the town wanted them to do, like around the pond, and I said, well, you know, the pond needs to get cleaned up at some point, and so they, I think it was their Friday morning or Monday morning crew, whatever they call themselves, and they'd show up and work for 4 or 5 hours, and I know, and like Ken said, they did a whole bunch of work down at the back of the cemetery. And it was, you know, I don't know that they did anything that was not wanted. I think they helped out a lot. And again, every once in a while, they'd stop in and say, hey, is there something we can do to help?
It just seems a little odd, I guess, that it's the center of the town and there's a committee that just kind of does what they want with it without any other,
Right, but I.
but I don't know. I don't know how they work, so
that
I
was a
didn't
real
know.
informal, that was a real informal. They focused on the cemetery.
Yeah.
They did some work up behind the Elkins Museum, again, around the pond.
They cleaned out around the schoolhouse.
Yeah, and then when they decided they were gonna get done, that was when Kent talked to some people and got this, I guess you'd call it a center committee.
Yeah.
And so Kent was on the board of selectmen and you know, worked with them and
I just didn't even know how they were
that was
organized.
the-
I just saw, you
that
know,
was
Gordon
the-
would plant trees and
yeah, that was the
somebody else would plant trees and.
connection there, and so yeah, so that's how it works.
So
So
that's how
Gordon
it's
wanted
working
to put a tulip tree over at the cemetery. They planted it. Gordon always liked maples, even though they don't be surviving particularly, so my suggestions were something else, but it's what he wanted, so he planted them.
Yeah.
Might as well argue with a rock. Well, I will say that I know I've talked to a couple of the people in town that have their ideas on which tree is best to plant,
Yeah.
which one is the hardiest and everything. And so it's just like everything else, there's different opinions and stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, I think, you know, I don't know. It's one of those things that they were willing to help out, and they weren't doing anything too controversial, so.
Well, they did a good
Okay.
job too. They would cut the trees down and then they pull the stumps, and that's where it gets real worky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there anybody left though, Kent?
No, I don't know if Gordon's still doing it, but
No.
I don't
I
No, they
think
don't
it was.
wanna, they don't want to do that anymore.
And Don and Jim have a difficult summer ahead of them.
yes,
so.
they do. So
Oh.
I'm releasing them, as it were. I told them
Yeah.
already, they don't need to worry about
Yeah.
it, so.
Right, good.
And we've had the highway department, like Ken said, we've had the highway department go in and do some of the work that has needed to be done, and I'm not sure how else to approach it at this point.
No, I mean, we know the general layout of the center hasn't changed since we rebuilt the center, so. And we've cleaned out most of the big trees along the cemetery, so that's a $3,500 tab every time we cut one of those babies down.
Yeah.
I think they're mostly gone at this point.
So so the beautification committee just kind of is going to go along?
I think they've aged out, I don't think there is.
I don't think there is right now, so as soon as Mindy gets back from her Texas trip
And has a new hip?
and has a new hip or whatever, then I just want to see if there's any interest from the gardening club. If there's not, and it wouldn't surprise me.
And
if there
Lori,
wasn't.
was Lori Lockwood involved with this? Is she part of the gardening club or is she just
I don't know.
permaculture?
I don't know.
Okay.
She's,
All right.
no,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
That was my last question
Yeah,
on that.
okay, very good.
And what do we do or not do about Art Rose's suggestion and the roads? Do we pursue that now? Do
What do
we
you
tuck that
I'd
into
like to
those?
see us get started on it.
I agree.
Because we've got a lot of work to do and a short summer ahead of us.
So how do we move forward? I think
I'm not
that's
sure
the
how he
question.
fits into us yet. Does he,
Yeah.
is he just like the administrator at large that brings us bills and tells us how much?
Well, that's what I was trying to get from him, like, why are you here? Why, you know, as a taxpayer weighing in is one thing, but it sounds like he wants to be more involved than that.
I think he does. I think he
Right.
wants to be in charge of this thing.
Yeah, and I think as a volunteer, now, I think, Beth, your concern is also my concern. We have a road agent who is responsible for the roads. So how do we move forward and,
I think we've got the same number of roads still out there and all the things that they do every summer, that hasn't changed one whit. We're just taking pieces of the roads and fixing them.
right, but I guess my point is, whatever we do to move forward, John needs to be a part of the process.
That's right.
Yeah, because it's his job and he's
Yeah.
technically responsible, so if you suddenly say, you know, we're gonna hire this guy to do your job because we don't think you're doing your job, or whatever we're saying, that's what it'll feel like,
Right.
I would think, so
So
I don't
what I'm
know.
thinking is, Kent is the select board rep to highway. A meeting with John, Art, Kent, do you wanna be a part of that meeting?
I think he should be, yeah.
Yeah,
So why don't, to move forward, why don't we set that up?
Okay.
And I think that'll at least start us,
yeah,
you know, down that road. And then ultimately,
and see how Art gets involved as the process goes on.
well,
Is he like a general contractor for roads? Would that be his kind of,
I
if it
He
works out
stopped
that
by
way?
the office today and chatted with me, and I think his thought would be that, I guess you call it a consultant or whatever, you know, but his thought was that this gentleman that he knows that is a grader operator would only be hired for a couple of days, where he would come in and more or less show our highway department how it should be done, and then our highway department would take over from there.
Okay, I wasn't exactly sure by the time he was done talking if that's what he meant, but if that's
That
the
was,
case.
that was the
Yeah.
gist of the conversation from him today to
Okay.
me. If he's thinking of something different, I will say that if we were to hire a grader and an operator to do the work that needs to be done, it would cost a lot more than $230,000.
Oh,
yeah, and that's,
I don't know much and I know
And
that.
that's, and, I mean, you saw the material costs and the suggestions, and there's maps in there showing which roads he wants to do, and there's only sections. It's not like he's doing all of Baptist Hill
Right.
Road or all of Hackamore Road.
Right.
These are only sections. I think the discussion earlier about these roads was that the town has not been adding any substantial amount of material to the roads for many, many years. And every year that goes by, they try to recover as much material as they can. But, you know, there's data out there that shows just the loss of material from the roads in dust every year
Yep.
can be upwards of a ton per mile. So,
A ton per mile?
yes, just through dust.
Gosh,
So,
Alright.
if you start looking at, and part of, you know, our discussion in the past has been, if you drive down some of these dirt roads and you look at the shoulders, you can see where the level of the road has
Yeah.
dropped
Yep.
over a foot in some places, and that's where it's a fairly level section. You know, so I know Art had said that he didn't feel it was gonna take a lot of material, but I think John is of a different opinion of
Yeah.
that.
And that's why.
Well, that's why they would work together.
Yeah,
But so you and Art and John and come to a meeting of the minds about who's going to do what and make sure that,
and John's proposal, and one of his proposals, one of the roads was that he was gonna buy several tons of a big chunk of material
Right.
of just sand fill to fill in a fairly substantial dip in, I think it's Baptist Hill Road, and then put the gravel and the crushed stuff on top of that, because that dip was contributing to a lot of the wear and tear on that section of road.
Right.
So,
But I think we've also heard, Kent, from you and from Art, the importance of ditches.
yeah.
So I want to make sure that, you know, it seems to me, we may have to just scale down the scope, if you will. And
I think we
and
concentrate on the
prioritize.
things we start with and
Yeah,
then we,
Yeah, and Art's right, build it right from the start, and, we take a little bite this year, and,
Right.
or a halfway decent bite this year, and then budget some more money for it in the coming years to say, okay, we're
yeah,
gonna.
that to me makes sense.
so.
I sent you a copy of that gravel road, thing from New Hampshire, from the
Oh,
state, federal highway.
Yeah.
And
I haven't gotten to that bit of light reading yet.
I will say that, part of it is not, doesn't pertain to us. This was the federal highway transportation, so it's talking about dirt roads everywhere, all over the
Yeah.
country. But there are parts that do pertain, and it does talk about the importance of ditches and the right material and how to reshape roads and things like that.
So going forward, do you see a role for Art as an ongoing consultant on road upgrades, fixing, repair, maintenance in town?
I would hope not. I would hope that if we have some instructional time for our employees, that they would be able to do it from then on.
Yeah.
the only
Well,
thing,
you
It's
guys
not,
have to figure that
it's
out,
not
yeah.
I think they already have a pretty good base knowledge of what they need to do, and maybe there's a few pointers here and there that would help them get their job done in a way that would help our roads stay better.
Well, you all know the roads and John and the dynamics of the relationship with the town better than I, so I'll leave
Yeah.
that up to your
I would
expertise.
say I've done a fair amount of dirt work myself.
Yeah.
And I think that given their knowledge and experience, and again, I wouldn't wanna have somebody walk in and say, you've been doing it all wrong for the past
Yeah,
10 years.
that's what I would,
I think
Caution
if you do it in
against.
a way that is acceptable and say, look, we'd like to give you some pointers on how to do
Yeah.
things a little better, that they'd be open to it.
Yeah, I see this as what you and I would know as the trainer.
Correct.
Somebody coming in with expertise and showing our highway department, like Ken said,
There's-
different, better techniques.
yeah. so-
There's
so long as they know
there's
that's-
always improved ways to
Yeah.
do things. And I hope that our highway department will be open to doing that.
Yeah, and I think they will, given, we
Good,
get a meeting of the minds and then move forward.
Yep, right.
and this is
Very
not really relevant anymore then.
No, I would actually hold on to
I'll keep
that
it.
because, we'll see what the final, do you want this file back? Yeah. We'll see what the final agreement is, if you will, on the scope of work. Anything else on, right, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, and actually, you were out when we discussed it in the very beginning. Do we have to commit the money by the end of this year?
Yes,
And then the work needs to be finished by,
2026.
okay.
Okay.
So December 31st, 2025?
Yeah.
Okay.
commit the funds.
So,
All right.
no,
No, we have
Oh.
to commit, we have
Yeah.
to commit
We have to
this year,
finish.
we have to
Right.
finish by the end of next year.
Got it, got it.
yeah,
So
so
spend the money.
the clock
I
is
think that
really
becomes a
ticking.
problem.
Right, so
Oh,
it's just,
Yeah, if you guys saw the sheet that John sent,
yeah,
how many tons of material, and I don't think it's gonna get cheaper as the day goes on.
no,
No,
yeah, I think that'll be our big issue is, prioritizing.
Right,
So,
right.
now I've lost the agenda. Where are we in
All
the
right,
world?
so I think, had you assignments for boards and commissions at this point?
So, one of the questions I had, and I don't know if we have the appointment slips tonight, right?
You've got, wait, I think I gave it to you.
New business or?
Old business, there's a
Okay.
packet
Okay.
in there, and that includes, the list of all of the open appointments,
Okay,
which, and then it includes, some appointment slips for some committees that are, we've already gotten confirmation that people want to return, so the rec committee is in there.
okay,
The, ag committee, I think they already.
Conservation should be in there,
Cons-
because they were gonna send it first.
they didn't get back to us,
No?
there's one,
or not to me.
committee members for reappointment 2024, there's only one name listed of Steve Sarin.
Yeah, I didn't hear back from them about it.
Okay, yeah. And it looks like HTC, nothing?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, did they say?
Oh, I don't know, I mean, you didn't
Oh, no,
re-up
they
it?
did, yeah, HTC
Oh, they
said
did,
yes.
okay, very
Yeah,
good.
so
All
rec
right.
committee, the ones that you have there are the ones where we got things back. So rec committee is there, HTC is there,
No worries up here,
CC.
it's all good.
the community power committee
Yep,
is there.
yep, okay,
So I signed up for that one, right? The CCPC.
So this is the,
Yes.
Yes.
appointments, the appointment slips for the committee members.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
But did we appoint somebody for the energy committee?
Again, you mean
That.
from the
Oh,
selectmen's
yeah,
reps?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is just committee members we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Not the
Okay.
selectmen
Yeah.
reps, just committee members, yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
and there's that spreadsheet
All
to
right.
show who's,
So-
who's up.
How do we want to handle these, as a
So,
individually or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the first one is Randy Johnson seeking reappointment, I believe, correct?
mhm.
To the Recreation Committee.
Yes.
All right, so,
Pen?
no, it's just, it's getting late and my pen's growing legs. So we each need to sign, correct?
Correct.
It requires,
3 signatures.
right, or two, correct?
Well, 2 is the majority.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a primer on how appointments work.
So,
At some point.
No time like the present.
Oh, there we go.
The Board of Selectmen signs the appointment slips. The committees choose the members of their committee if they'd like to. But it's up to the selectmen to finalize that appointment. So if there's a vacancy on the Recreation Committee, what we do is, they would let us know that, or we let them know that someone's up for reappointment. And then they would contact them and say, do you want to be reappointed or not? And if you don't, thank you for your years of service. And then let us know that they have a vacancy. And in the past, we have said, well, okay, can you guys check around and see if there's somebody interested in serving with you? And they'll come up with a name and you guys approve, the Board of Selectmen approve it.
I guess I understand the process per se, but not why some boards operate, why does the Recreation Committee operate like that and not?
There are RSAs that govern which boards are selected and which boards are
Okay,
appointed. And then there are some that are determined through the legislative body at town meeting. If we create a new board, it can go to the town meeting to say, do you guys want this an elected position or do you want it appointed?
okay.
So
Thank Thank you
So
also.
these are 3-year terms, all of them, correct?
Correct.
So you need to think about how many terms somebody has served on the board. Is 2 terms enough, or 3 terms, or 30 years worth, right? Because I think we also should be thinking about other people that want to be on these boards. And once you're on the ZBA, that holds that slot for as long as you're there, and the selectmen reappoint you.
That's an ongoing
So I.
discussion, yeah. I would agree. But, is it up to us to say, you know, there's a 6-year minimum, maximum going forward?
I've suggested that several times, we do 2 terms, and then if there's nobody interested, sure, we'll take you back again, as long as everything else is looking fine. If there's somebody else who would like to be on the board, I think we need to have some serious thought about it, because that way our boards will keep updating and staying fresh. And they're not right now. Or the ones that are elected, the planning board has been turning over fairly regularly, but.
Yeah. All right, next one is Caitlin, I'm gonna butcher the last name, Fenn, perhaps, Fehn,
Don't know where.
For what?
Recreation Committee.
Yes.
And I would assume that that name would put forward from the
For
committee.
the recreation.
So I wouldn't know to say no, so if they would like to work with her.
Yeah.
Who is that? Caitlin Fenn, Fehn.
Do some research.
Yeah.
All right,
Give me an
next.
excuse to talk to Randy Johnson.
Yeah, there you go.
Kate.
Yeah, and again, if there's someone on here that you're unsure of, and you'd like to talk to either the committee person or table this or whatever, I think I sent the email out or communicated that, if a person is up for reappointment, if you do not appoint a new person to fill that position, they are still considered a town official until you reappoint them or you appoint somebody else.
Well, that was Joe's concern, or that was the
Exactly, that was the
ZBA's
concern of the
before,
ZBA last week.
before the last meeting,
Because
yeah.
they weren't sure if, because the appointments hadn't been done, are they still officially members? And yes, they are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And that goes for all the committees.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody on here that you're unsure of, or whatever, you wanna talk to either the committee chair or somebody else or whatever, you don't have to make a decision tonight.
Right, understood, okay. Next, for Recreation Committee member Danielle Krautman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, for me
Yes.
also.
so this is,
What were you saying?
I was gonna say, this is appointing the whole committee, not just the,
We didn't have oaths on file for the rec committee, so we made new ones. So
for everybody.
they're all getting reappointed at the
Okay.
same time.
Got it.
Thank you.
You keep track of when their start and stop dates are when you're in the town.
Yep, yeah, we'll stagger the terms.
Yeah. All right, next is Community Power, Ben Stonebreaker.
Yes.
Yes, for me as well.
Then yes. He's a alternate now. right?
Yeah,
That is correct.
and that's what he'd still be, I think, isn't it?
I don't believe
It should say it on there.
Yeah,
In the bold part where it says at the top, the title,
No. I don't see alternate anywhere on this. It says Community Power Committee member.
he's been an
Oh.
alternate.
he is a regular member for Community Power Committee. He's the alternate for
There you go.
Planning.
Planning.
Oh, okay,
That's
that's,
what it is.
Kelly was on, his wife was on Community Power.
Yeah.
Actually, next one I have, Community Power Committee member Kelly Stonebreaker.
There we go. Yes.
Can people serve on multiple boards if they're on that committee?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a section, and I have it here, on which town officials can serve on which boards, on multiple boards. Some can't serve on multiple boards, some can.
You'll let us know if one of those comes up.
Yeah, you can't be the town clerk and on the board of selectmen,
Yeah.
things like that.
Certainly makes sense.
There are, you can't be a board of selectmen and the treasurer.
Yeah. All right, Community Power Committee member Beth McGinn.
McGuinn, yes,
Yes.
indeed.
I will sign Beth. Power of suggestion.
She's the other Beth.
Yes, she is.
Of course, she says that about me too.
All right, next is Historic District Commission member Harry Kinter.
Yes.
Yes.
That, these back together. All right, final one is Historic District Commission member Kevin Bragg.
Yes.
Yes, from me as well.
Yes,
Take that, thank you.
indeed.
So we still have planning board and ZBA to do.
Right, but we
The
have,
planning board,
They're asking new alternates to come on, I believe.
they appoint their own alternates.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
yeah, but zoning, nothing from them?
I contacted them and they did not reply, but I do know they're aware of it because they discussed it at the last meeting on Thursday. Not discussed, mentioned.
So
Wednesday?
what happens if they just don't submit?
Then you guys decide whether there's, I guess,
there a
looks
time
like
limit?
3 people up for a reappointment this year.
Right.
Cool.
So 4 on ZBA?
Lisa Carlson is an alternate.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Holla, Webb Stout, Calvin Todd, Lisa Carlson.
So it's up to you guys to decide on what to do.
Okay.
And where did, there's another name that, in the mix, I thought, but that would come from them. Anybody else that they may want to appoint would come
As an
from them,
alternate.
correct?
As an alternate.
As an
yes,
alternate,
yeah.
okay.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, how do we get them to make progress?
I can contact the chairman on Wednesday.
Thank you. Do we want to give them a deadline?
And same thing with conservation, we need to know from them, because we haven't heard from them.
Yeah, I'm surprised, because
Yeah.
they had a meeting and Kelly said they were discussing it, so, yeah, conservation as well.
Yeah.
And do we have ag commission in there?
Nope.
Okay.
I read it, actually, yeah, Dean
They are
confirmed
in
from
there, they
board.
didn't confirm. If they have a blue star next to them, it's
Yeah.
confirmed.
Okay, I will contact
Yeah.
those 3 chairs to see what's going on.
Do they need to,
Isn't
well,
energy,
what's the time frame? Do we have to wait till they have another
Oh,
meeting?
Yeah, and energy also.
are they, they're literally meeting up at the
Well, yeah,
San Lake
energy,
House, right?
Yeah, they did not make an agenda for this evening, so I don't know what they're discussing.
Great.
Right, well, talk to them too.
So what do we, who do we have left? We have ZBA,
ZBA, conservation,
Conservation.
energy, and ag commission.
Correct.
okay.
All right.
Again, as far as a time frame, do we need to wait for them all to have, I mean, we know the energy committee's meeting, but we don't know what they're talking about. Do we have to wait another month till the conservation commission, whoever, has
Well, I
another
can
meeting? or-
contact the chairs and see if they've discussed it, and if they haven't, then I can suggest that they do so at their very next meeting, or the selectmen will make their choices for them,
Yep.
Okay.
if that's what you guys want.
That's what I want.
That's what I want to.
It seems
Okay.
prudent, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And they can also call a meeting or get together
Absolutely,
beforehand?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, I'll give you that back too.
All right.
As long as I'm giving stuff back. All right, that brings us up to, unless we got anything else on committee appointments.
No,
I don't think so.
just the Naloxbox
Right, yep,
locations.
yep.
Have you guys thought of any other additional locations you'd like them?
I just
The
thought it,
library is okay. Do you want any?
Sam Lake, doesn't it seem,
The same way? That-
to me it seems,
I'm not so,
Unless-
Rod, I think maybe you're the best one.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've
well,
got a
yes.
little bit of expertise.
Yeah.
So the Narcan needs to be climate controlled, so we can't put it outdoors, because it'll cook or it'll freeze.
right,
Neither of which is good, so I don't think there's any place climate controlled at Sam Lake we could put it.
Not on the outside of the
Right,
building, we can put it above the AED that's.
but it's not gonna be
Yeah.
outside the library, is it? It'll be
I
in
don't
the-
know.
I don't think so.
It can't be, right? You just
It
said,
shouldn't
It
be,
shouldn't be. I
Yeah.
think they were gonna put
So-
it inside by the.
that was my understanding.
like by the
by the
defibrillator.
AED.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And is there a defibrillator up at the,
Sam
there is.
Lake.
Sam Lake?
There is, yeah.
same thing, why don't we put it right next to
You
that?
could, yeah,
That would be
that would
my,
be okay with me.
that would be my thought, about two places
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
where there's activity and
Okay.
maybe people.
right.
All right.
What did we decide with Shaker Village representation? We got,
So
come
quarterly, have them come here quarterly.
you're gonna talk to him
Yeah,
about
I'll
that.
talk to David, yeah, yeah.
And we're gonna proceed with, Kevin wants to go up and hold this meeting, so we'll go
Yes.
ahead and do that.
Yep, yep.
Sounds good. All right, that brings us to land use application, documents, policy, and interview process.
Yep. Let's see.
That was the,
So I have the, I think, is it, there's a policy that I sent you guys? Is it in the,
I didn't see the,
is it in the please sign stuff?
I didn't see it in there.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
No,
I sent
we didn't
it to you
get it.
guys, and I
I'm
sent
looking for it now.
Here it is right here.
Oh, good.
you
Okay.
have to hit the big blue send button.
I didn't send that to you guys?
Uh,
Yeah.
Here, you look at that, I'll look for the,
Wait, did you send that to me and did I send that out?
Maybe I don't know.
Okay, to ensure
I
that
don't know.
public records are available.
I don't know.
Within a time.
it's getting
It's
late.
8:17.
Well, things have been just a little crazy lately.
Yeah.
You sent the code of conduct
The
for
original selectmen.
board of selectmen, board of committees, John's recommendation for dirt roads.
I think that looks fine, it means, so long as it's, the originals are available, they can be scanned at the town offices and available. And also available to the members, or the secretaries of the various boards if they need, they can have electronic copies of them, they just can't have the originals.
Right.
Or printed copies,
Yeah.
at least in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
You can print them out and take them in.
Yeah, I sent it on the 20th. I sent it to Scott, Kent, Beth Blair, and Mandy Irving. Retention of land use.
Did miss one.
Appoint
We all
organization.
set on signing this, everybody happy with it?
Ye-
We signed this tonight?
Yeah, you can, yeah, if you guys are happy with it. Yeah.
When did you send it, Ken?
I
I'm
sent
just
it,
curious.
I sent it to, on the
Policy,
20th,
there it is.
3:20.
Yep, you did. You're exonerated.
Well, I'll take your word for it, I don't, oh,
He
wait,
did.
we have to sign
I
it?
can confirm, yes, we do.
Okay, so,
Assuming you want to. You can tell it's
I
getting
checked
late.
like 5 times. There were no check marks on anything. Fine. I suppose if I'm gonna lose something, it's,
Yep,
okay.
all right,
Okay,
perfect.
Thank you.
That's done.
and let's see, an update on map 102 lot 37, it was
Yep.
sold, we got the check.
Very good.
That person, there's a lot across the street, and that resident would like to know if you guys have a price that you'd like to be willing to sell that for.
So,
They haven't made an offer, but they'd like to know if you guys have any idea what you think you'd like to sell it for.
so if that sale goes through, it's to the same individual.
Correct.
Does that become a buildable lot at that point?
If they put them
I would-
both
I would
together,
have to
since they're
say-
both?
Unless you put a condition on the deed, yes. because it is a grandfathered lot that
Yeah.
was buildable, lot of record. But if you put a condition on the deed that says no residential construction on it, then no.
So did we put a condition on
You
the,
did put a condition
That's
on
what
the
I
other one,
thought,
it would be
yeah.
merged with no additional residential
right,
construction.
So this is old business of which I'm probably not familiar, so
right, that is correct.
I will not wait.
So the town owns lots in Sherwood Forest that they've taken either, most of them through the unpayment of taxes.
Right,
And this is a lot that is, it's on a very steep hill. It's, the town, the selectmen have in the past, 15 years or so, have sold the lots that the town has owned to abutters
right.
with a condition that they don't build any more houses in there. And
So they just get the land, but it doesn't necessarily add up to a buildable lot.
it's not, it becomes
There's a
not, it's
condition,
not a
yeah.
buildable, it's not like they can say, okay, now they're gonna sell it and put another house there.
Right,
So they, typically, the conditions has been to merge it and with no additional residential. They can put a garage on it or a shed or something like that. but
and
they
that's all
can't-
in the contract?
That's all in the deed.
Okay, in the deed,
But they can't build another house on it.
right.
And
And,
we should put a time limit if,
yeah, yep.
So I think we wanna make sure, well, two things I'm thinking about here. I've been asked to tell somebody out at Sherwood Forest that this may be going through, because they're interested in what gets sold and what gets built.
Yep.
And I think this is one of those
yeah,
lots
public
that,
record, so.
I think this is one of those lots that we wanna be careful with, because the lot itself that she bought on the lake, I don't know if you went out and looked at it, but you need grips to get down the thing.
right,
yeah.
It's steep.
Very steep.
And if she goes ahead and ties it into her house, then I don't have a problem selling that lot across the street. I just don't want her to put those two together and say there's another house lot.
Yeah, so again, it would
Would
be
she
a
have
condition of the
physically
deed, so
build
you
it?
couldn't,
She could build on the back lot,
Oh, I see.
right?
no. No, because you put a condition on that deed that says no additional residential construction.
As long as it's tied to her house, so that she can't go ahead and make that connection.
Well,
That's
she
all.
couldn't subdivide it.
She what?
She couldn't subdivide it.
No, but she's got two separate lots she's gonna be picking up there. She's gonna pick
No,
up-
just one.
No, the one on the lake, and then the one up.
And that was merged with her lot.
Okay.
And all of that is.
That's all I'm saying.
That was,
I wanna see
her
that done.
deed said that it was merged and no additional residential construction.
Right.
So now that's one lot. And now she's interested in the lot across the street.
Just because that is also a non-buildable lot across the street?
No,
It's very steep and I mean,
it's a rock.
and, right.
That doesn't mean so,
I mean,
have you seen what they did
it
on
is-
Filter with that?
It is
Oh,
zoned that you could, if the town decided to sell it as a buildable lot, you could, but it would be difficult to put a house there.
So would we sell that to her with the same condition? Non, you can
Yeah.
buy it but not buildable on it?
Yeah,
And that's doable for us?
yeah,
That's,
absolutely,
Oh.
absolutely,
Just so you know, there's two islands that the town has agreed not to sell.
right,
One in New Pond and one in Lyford.
right.
We did that, what, 4 or 5 years
4
ago?
or 5 years ago, yeah,
So we're gonna always
yeah.
own
Sherwood,
those two.
Sherwood Forest wanted to buy those from the town, and the select board at the time said they didn't see any advantage to the town selling it. It's not like it's ever gonna be, they're not gonna be worth a lot of money or anything like that, and the taxes that we're losing aren't substantial at all, it's not. And
There's
they
no
felt that
access to them either.
and the selectmen felt at the time that it was better to have the town retain ownership,
okay.
so.
Yeah. So do we want to set a price or do we want to entertain an offer?
I can send you the tax card for it, and you can look at it, and maybe, I would recommend that you take a ride out there, take a look at it,
Yeah.
and then come up with an idea of what you think you might.
To know where it is, you just go down onto Canterbury Drive and go south, take a left.
Yeah.
And when it gets too steep for your truck,
Yeah.
you got there.
That's what it is.
That's where it is.
Okay.
Or you could go around and park down the dam and look up the hill.
That's what it is.
That's the best way to do it. I can get up there with my two-wheel drive truck.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Okay, all right, I'll do that, and I'll let them know. And also, just an update on the Lovering property.
Yeah.
We've notified the potential heirs that had responded and suggested they seek legal advice. So that's where that is. And Mr. McGill, who thought he had some kind of ownership rights in it, does not, and he has said that he does not. So
The only
that's,
other there's only one other person in the,
so there's
process for
the
Mr.
person
Kimbrough?
that was the, Mr. Cambrose from Loudon,
yeah,
that was trying to take adverse possession of it, was the only person that is still seeking, I guess, that lot, that land. I don't know where that is. We have no way of knowing
right.
unless they try and take legal action to try and take it.
Against the Loverns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at this point,
And it's a civil matter right now, it's
Yeah.
not a town matter,
Right.
but
Yeah.
we notify the potential heirs and let them know they should seek legal advice.
yeah.
Okay.
Last but not least is the website proposals. I think Cal sent everything to you guys.
So
What does
Cal,
Cal think?
Yeah, that's-
I know exactly.
Make a decision.
I know what Cal thinks because I read all 4 proposals first and then I read your lovely summary.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh,
I
no.
did.
Wait, did you read the
Look, here's
revised
all my notes.
ones? That thing was like 40 pages long.
That's a
Well,
lot
yes,
of
and
reading.
one of them was 71 pages long that had 1 page mention of Canterbury in the middle.
Good lord.
Beth was
So-
wondering why she was having trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have the Goldilocks
Too much
summary. There's
going on in there.
there's the Cal summary and mine is the Goldilocks summary. So revised, too big. Haas optimization, perhaps too small. Sullivan and Wolf, too many errors, and Firehorse seems just about right. But realizing that there's other considerations. I appreciated that you were, upfront about your relationship with Logan, your friendship. What I didn't know is, regardless of that, is it a conflict of interest if she's a planning board member, even if we wanted to? Is that a problem?
So every year when we do an audit, part of the audit asks if there are any town officials that are doing business directly with the town, and we note that.
Right,
And unless it's, if we had a signed contract for a specific amount of work, then there's no problem. It's noted in the audit,
okay,
but that would be the only issue. Certainly if somebody, if either a resident or somebody, another business said, well, they're a town official and you're giving them business, but I think we've done our due diligence where we did an RFP and we got some responses and we reviewed the RFPs and decided, made a decision based on the wealth of the RFPs, then
Yeah.
I don't see a problem.
okay. That was the only thing I didn't know
Yep, no, that's a
about that.
real good question.
The only other questions I had was, while Firehorse, that I liked a lot about the proposal, and I saw it in your overview of the situation that you didn't really think that WordPress was a security risk as much as they seem to think WordPress is a security risk, because they want to use their custom CMS, and
Right.
you
So-
wanted to look at that further?
So their whole proposal is saying that like WordPress is so insecure, it's terrible, and we have our own CMS and that's so much more secure. And that's just security through obscurity, so they're not, it's not that theirs is so much better than WordPress, it's that WordPress is very public, everybody knows about it, and hackers are after it all the time. But on the other hand, because hackers are after it all the time, they have lots of people securing it all the time.
Right.
And so if you configure it correctly, it is plenty secure. And their CMS is just a big question mark because it's designed in-house. It's not like it's open source where there's been lots of people looking at it and trying to hack it and giving fixes to all those hacks. So I don't think that's a valid point in their argument.
And did I can't remember now at this point, did they also work with WordPress if we had wanted them to?
I can't remember anymore.
Okay.
I wrote all that
Okay.
back in December when they gave us the proposals.
Okay.
So I want to hear from you which one you'd like to work with, I guess. And why.
So my proposal does include the pros and cons that I have.
Mhm.
I said no to revise because they are not customized to Canterbury, they are exactly Civic Plus, just a competitor. Sullivan and Wolf, I am reluctant. Because they
Grammar, everything was so bad,
they had a lot of errors in their proposal, and
a lot of errors.
it is like maybe nitpicky for me to be like, you gotta, you know, check your stuff and have good grammar. But I think it also shows a lack of attention to detail, and I'm not sure if I wanna work with somebody like that. Firehorse seems fine. I would want to look more at the CMS that they're offering to see like, what's that about? Has optimization also seems perfectly fine. So to me, it's really Firehorse or has optimization. Firehorse, I don't really know anything about them besides what I've learned and what I put in the proposal.
Well, and they're the groups that they've worked for, that they've done websites for, big familiar
Yeah,
institutions in Concord.
yes.
They are, you know,
Yeah,
local enough.
And they are based in Concord, so I think between Has Optimization and Firehorse, they're both very close by and people that we could interface with directly and people that I could go to them,
Yeah.
you know, and so I'm not concerned about that for either of them. Or for Sullivan and Wolf, they're also very local and
I was,
them.
Sullivan and Wolf made me very nervous, again, for those very matters. There were a lot of typos, errors, and not even errors, but the grammar was odd. Their sentence structure and the way they presented their ideas was odd, and I can't think of how they might organize information in a good way. I didn't even, I got halfway through the introduction, I was like, I don't even want to read the rest of this.
Yeah.
But, so if you could be, if you're willing to do a little bit more looking at the CMS from Firehorse to just see, is that reasonable to, and then weigh back in and say, yeah, this would be okay, or
Do you need a decision tonight, or?
No, I was kind of hoping for one, but you're right, like that we should look at the CMS. So, I can go back to them and say, we're down to 2, if that's accurate.
yeah.
That, I agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Can they
it'd be
send us links,
2.
or do they have a portfolio? I think,
I
I'd like to
believe-
see a portfolio of,
It's on their website,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
believe that's linked in the proposal.
okay, and has optimization as well?
Yes, and are there any other questions, if I'm gonna meet with them, are there any other questions you have for Firehorse or Has Optimization?
My big one would be, I'm sorry, were you gonna speak?
No, go ahead.
Was just about alerts and notification. And you sound like you don't appreciate or don't like Civic Ready. But I've seen some websites and just the idea of being able to do emergency alerts and like severe weather alerts or whatever, however that might eventually work into the site, if they're comfortable either doing it or.
So that's a separate system,
Yeah.
and Sam actually gave me a recommendation that he got from another town that's text.my.gov or something like that, and it's a separate system
Yeah.
that isn't related to the website, so I would consider that a separate.
If we could get more information on whatever that system is, and the reason I ask is, well, the one reason I bring it up is my niece who's down in Coventry, Connecticut, and is always getting alerts. This road is closed, we've got a firestorm on this road or whatever, and the citizens sign up for it, and it can be texted to you, depending on the system. They could call you if you don't text. When it's a very automated system now. Who actually puts the information in there, I don't know, but I think it would be really worth it for us, especially after this last power outage event with burning wires and fireballs down on the road and roads closed. I mean, that would be a really handy thing to know, and I think a pretty easy,
Well,
I don't know easy.
yeah,
but-
I'm not sure. The problem is we are literally a part-time town. And who's gonna put that information in?
I think it's worth it to have the information, even if we don't use it right now, and see how,
It's easy enough for me to make a list of like what would need to happen for that to happen. So the scope of
Yeah.
scoping.
yeah,
I can-
thank you, that would be helpful.
That's like 10 minutes, I can write that up, so that you at least know, it's a totally separate project.
I mean, it seems like, emergency response, whoever or whatever that is, and that would probably come from fire?
Well, again,
Yeah,
how do you get the information in a timely fashion from the, I guess, 911, because they're the ones that take most of these calls, to an individual or company or whatever?
Right,
In order to move that information to the general public.
I don't know, but I'm assuming people have figured that out, and if we could even just have a brief overview of how that might work, and not including it, I realize we've got way too much on our plate, but just as a,
I will say, and just from my dealings with the emergency management system in the state, it would be a difficult proposition to have timely information. We don't have we have the Capital Area Mutual Aid Compact that dispatches for fire and ambulances. We have Merrimack County that dispatches for police. And we don't have a central, I guess, dispatch for our highway department. So now you have two, potentially three agencies
yeah,
that are involved. And just talking with Matt Nelson, Dave Nelson's son, who's a dispatcher for Capital Area. He told me that they ended up having to hire a third, they have two dispatchers on duty 24/7. They had to hire a third one to come in for the storm because it got so busy in there. And
and for what town?
that's for the Capital Area Mutual
Oh,
Aid
for the
Compact.
capital,
So they dispatch for 23 towns, I think.
Yeah,
sounds right.
And
26.
kind of anecdotally, Matt said that he had his supper on a plate, put it in the microwave at 6 o'clock, and he never got it till 4 o'clock the next morning.
yeah,
And there was 3 of them in there. So I guess the question becomes, how do you get that information unless you ask your first responders, say, okay, if our fire department gets dispatched for a wire down on Center Road, and they get there, and there's a tree across the wires, and the road's blocked and everything, now are they the ones to contact this either singular person or company or whatever?
yeah.
And do they text that, or how do they, who does that communications? So that's, when you start looking at the way this happens, it becomes a little more, because we don't have a central organization.
Right, like
Yeah.
anything, so like
Yeah.
Coventry is a much bigger town, so they probably have a much bigger.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
But it might be worth a discussion at some point on how we can do even a very low-level
Sure.
alert, to get news out about roads closed, though, Canterbury Facebook, but there's a lot of people who aren't on that, so I don't know.
Yep.
That's a discussion for much earlier and another evening, how about that?
All right.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, the one thing that I had asked to be on the agenda tonight that isn't, and I hate to bring it up at 20:09, but the possible local ordinance concerning what is known as dirty dirt and biosolids. That was discussed at the planning board the other night.
You want to
Yes.
bring that up now?
I think yes, short answer. I know
Do we
you're all
have-
packed up.
Yeah,
Take a few minutes. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say,
Oh, no, she said-
do we have an ordinance in front of us to look at?
We do not, so,
We couldn't probably do it before this is decided out there anyways, could we? I mean,
So in order for the ordinance to take effect, you would have to post it for a meeting, and then it has to be posted for 30 days before it goes into effect.
Right.
So it would have to be for the 14th of April, that
Yeah.
would be our meeting. And then you could talk about, you'd have it in front of you, an ordinance then. And then if you said, yeah, this is the ordinance we want, and you passed it, it would have to be posted for 30 days before it went into
Right,
effect.
but didn't, planning table the, Wyman Road thing, didn't they?
So I'm not sure, I haven't talked to Greg recently. I know they're thinking about it and they think they've got enough things to make it harder.
Okay.
And this is the subdivision?
Yeah, well, the road specs and that type of thing. I think that's how it may be approached. I was on the town side, now I'm thinking I don't want to see that stuff out there at this point. I'm concerned that we're gonna allow something to go into place that we can't easily remove, and once it becomes part of the town, I think it probably becomes our responsibility.
And I guess my point would be that I don't disagree, but my concern is that if the planning board is holding up a subdivision.
I don't think it's a matter of that. I don't think that's what's holding it up right now, but I don't know.
Again.
What's your concern?
My concern would be if the planning board is holding a subdivision approval up for this reason, I don't know that that's a reason that they could hold up a subdivision. The subdivision rules are pretty clear on what is needed for a subdivision, and the material that goes into a proposed road is not one of the reasons.
But don't they still need a road waiver?
It's not a town road.
It's a private road.
It's a private road.
It's a private road, but it still would require a waiver in order for them to build.
Correct.
And that goes along with a road improvement plan that the road agent would develop with the property.
Which could have conditions in it,
Absolutely.
which could be the material used.
Absolutely. And I
Which
know our
could be-
road agent doesn't want to see the material in there.
So why is there still, why doesn't that end the discussion right there?
I don't know why the planning board is,
Yeah, that's a planning board
that's a
question.
planning board question.
That's a big planning board question, because if that's it, then, I mean, if the road waiver is what needs to be finally granted to have the thing go, and we can set through the road agent and the town the conditions, and the conditions is you can't use that,
Right.
Yep.
But moving forward, I wanna make sure that this material doesn't get used.
oh, absolutely.
Yes, and again, you could develop an ordinance that says that,
Yeah.
and that would be sufficient.
Yep.
But if this, we could do this and not hold up the whole subdivision,
Once again, that's not an us.
well, if
Yeah, that's a
they,
planning board
yeah.
question,
So-
and that's, I guess my concern is that the planning board is not really, I hate to say overstepping their bounds, but that's kind of where I feel they're headed. But that's, they're.
you feel they're headed to holding up,
By not granting the subdivision based on the material that might,
not the road waiver. If they said road waiver, would that be okay? If planning board says,
so,
You're discussing this
again,
now.
I don't
that's,
even know.
again, that's not up to the planning board to grant a road waiver.
Public.
oh, yeah, I know,
That's up
I don't
to
know.
That's up to the selectmen. Planning board has our zoning ordinance has a specific set of, I guess, rules on granting subdivisions.
Yeah,
And you'd have to look at those rules on granting subdivision to see what it takes to get a subdivision approved. And I think at this point, the applicant has shown that he has that. And I think that the planning board, by holding up the subdivision, is kind of overstepping a little bit.
and how do we finally hear or figure out how this is?
Well, I think you have to talk to the planning board chair and say, what are you guys doing? Again, they're an elected board, it's up to them, you guys don't have any authority over them, other than having a chat.
Yeah,
Yeah. But what I wanted to bring up tonight was the ordinance.
Yeah.
okay,
I think it's a great idea.
yeah,
So
I
I
would
will,
agree.
You want me to, I think Belmont and Loudon both have ordinances,
Yep.
so I can get information from them.
yeah.
I know
Thank you.
Greg's got a copy of the Belmont one.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll have it for the next meeting. We can talk about, or actually, can we get it out prior to that?
I can certainly get.
Yeah, that way we can all look it over.
Especially if there needs to be post times and postings. and-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
One last thing that we didn't talk about, I forgot to bring up when we were talking about the land use application or the land use policy, is the interview process for potential hires. We have one resume.
One resume.
Yep. I'm not sure,
I printed it.
I'm not sure who you want to interview this
Do you
person.
have any
Um,
information to read the resume?
Does it make sense, I mean, well, ZBA, we need to get a chair from them, but also planning the chair, it makes sense. Probably Kent, if you're willing, the select board liaison to planning, I would think.
Would it make sense to have maybe a phased interview where this person's gonna be working in the town office, maybe myself and Lois, who's the secretary,
As like a first interview?
and maybe Lisa Carlson as a first interview,
Yeah,
and maybe Mandy, because has been doing a lot of this work
Yeah.
already.
yeah.
So maybe us first, and then
And a
if,
second interview?
and if we get more resumes, then
Yeah,
I figured, I communicated with this first applicant that we would most likely keep the applications period open till at least the 15th, which is, or 14th of
April?
April.
Yeah.
So you guys could see the resumes before we move any further in the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. So we need to decide tonight, closing date for applications and
Closing date and
interview
whether it's
process.
whether it's a phased process of maybe
Yeah.
two interviews or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think another person would be desirable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I hope that we had one other person that was interested, but they wanted a full-time position with benefits.
Yeah,
This person was favorable.
Part-time.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So does April 15th work for everybody for a closing date for
Yeah.
applications?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we'll do that,
All
and
right.
then does a phased approach as Ken is suggesting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what if we get no other applicants?
If we get no other applicants, then we'll interview this one
Okay.
and move forward.
See what we think.
They seem like a good applicant.
Do we know why they're leaving Tilton? Or are they going to do it in addition to their job?
No longer there.
Oh.
I think they left, and I'm not sure
That's a
why.
good interview question.
Yeah.
I
That
thought
is.
so.
That is, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
please?
Oh, second and third.
Thank you
Good
very
night,
much.
all.